twice in the same place. We're in pretty much the same place at the same time. Lightning struck last night. I don't know if it's going to be able to do so again here for CAG. FaZe, I've got them winning this one out, but I'm also kind of fingers crossed hoping CAG do something quite crazy again. We'll see.
The way I explain this game, because obviously, you know, we're all in a green room watching the games together and going like this, and this stream has gone on a bit later than the other stream. The other stream is entirely wrapped up at this point, and people were a bit surprised that there was still one more series. And I phrased it like this. This is either going to be a quick game that you expect or the best game of the entire tournament. And
for all the wrong reasons, probably.
But it's just one of those things where you kind of want to see it, right? Starting here on FaZe's map in this sort of situation on what could be a bit sticky, you look towards the sort of difference makers, right? You look towards the MVP of the entire day. Yesterday, being on CAG, being on the sort of roster there of trying to pull these together, you want to see BlackRay start firing guns, start getting himself into these engagements. You want to see Shurip again, you know, new onto all the scene, new onto all the biggest stages of everything from a very long historied roster. If they can have that second map performance they had, if they're more confident, where else can this roster go?
Well, I think that when it comes to a matchup like this for CAG, the pressure valve has certainly been relieved after their performance against Furia yesterday. Again, you know, there's certain teams when we get to Six Invitational that have expectations, and of course, vice versa, there are teams that maybe don't have so much expectations. CAG is probably in that middle because they've been the kind of team enemy that's been around for such a long time, always making these events, but never able to make that splash, really make that kind of run. There actually is a bit of an expectation on a team like CAG to do well. Then they got given the group of death, and everyone's like, okay, we know who's getting grouped here, and then bam, straight away, first day they take down Furia and throw that group now into absolute chaos. And they will solidify that chaos if they somehow get a result here against FaZe. Honestly, even a map here, of course, which would get you a point, would still be quite huge. So for CAG, no real pressure in this game. They were great yesterday, but can they back it up? For FaZe, it's just all about really doing the business here. You've got to give CAG the respect. You saw what they could do yesterday. You've got to come into this giving 110%.
I think it's also the way that the points are sort of starting to splinter. FaZe obviously didn't get the full amount of their points from their game before. They could take even more here, but if they drop another one, if they find themselves on a 6 of a total of 8, you know, first place is a bye in the upper bracket. That is probably a difference of about $100,000. It's massive as a chance, and it puts you about 2 games away from the start, but let's go. Not too far ahead of ourselves. Cyrenaico has stepped up, ready to maybe try and find a fight with Cyber, who's getting closer and closer towards the breach. Anaton is sort of face-checking all of it, but with the very powerful plexiglass or whatever it is that makes the bulletproof action of Clash active. It gives them the read on the players. They've got the breach open, though. That's the important first step. Now they can either, you know, try and pull themselves back around to the bottom of Rocket stairs as the work against the barbed wire done, or, you know, instead flip themselves around, try and get control the top of Rocket. Instead, actually, it's the Deimos that wants to find their way towards the bottom of green, maybe start hunting up underneath the site itself with the track of the players.
Yeah, Anaton's going to play a lot of the shields throughout a series such as this, Montaigne, Clash. Obviously, Ying as well is a very good operator when it comes to Anaton too, so it does offer a little bit of a counter difference to just the shield play. So far, good setup right now for CAG. You still got the 3 gas babes, still 2 nitrocells. Anaton on the Clash is just delay in itself, and then you've still got the Echo Yokai drones later in the round. So with a minute left, FaZe not really making too much headway. In fairness, top floor when it comes to Lair, you know, it's that kind of outside the site sort of gameplay. You don't necessarily need a super high amount of map control. Good information from BlackRay, and I think he got that Yokai back in safely. See one just kind of roaming around. Chibisu close in the bathroom with the shotgun, hoping he can find the opening kill. Has the ping information, but he swings, and the timing of it doesn't quite match, and KDS will get the opening kill for FaZe, and that just might open the door for them in towards the site.
A lot of everything flies at Cyrenaico, and he didn't even know what way was up as he's removed from the board. BlackRay takes a lot of damage next and is locked out by Handy, who did take some of his own, but not enough to stop him. A little bit of time and an early C4, hoping they're on the default, but adrift into what has been an entire surrounding from FaZe. A flawless opening for FaZe here, and they are not wasting any time.
No, I mean, that was just absolutely clinical from FaZe. Again, it's the kind of site you don't necessarily need to have made too much headway in terms of map control. Minute left, that's when they start to push a little bit. Yeah, in fairness to Chibisu, I felt like if he gets that kill onto KDS, they might have been a bit more solidified. And they had the red ping information. I don't think he did anything wrong by going for the kill. He's just overexposed himself by wide swinging rather than holding the closer angle. KDS will punish that. And that's just going to be phased in a nutshell in this kind of series. They will certainly punish any of the mistakes that CAG offer. You know, if you overswing, if you're peaking at the wrong time, and that happened a little bit as well. Good utility dump as well from FaZe. We saw those flashes really put to good use. And unfortunately for CAG, you know, when you're bringing that clash, it needs to be in the face of the opposition. It needs to be a nuisance. We didn't really see it. Like, FaZe just kind of ignored it. It's a 5-on-2. The clash is still up. We haven't really seen the clash get involved. So if you're going to bring it, it's got to be in the right spot. So unfortunately, Anderton couldn't get into the round. FaZe had it pretty easy, to be honest, hence why it was flawless.
An audio issue for one of the players is just being sorted out, so we're in a little bit of a tech moment.
That's
here.
all right. We've got all night.
We've got all night. KDS with that, you know, swing onto it. It's an easier angle to shoot into the spray.
Yeah, I mean, Blackray's in a hallway position there, so he's always losing that battle to Handy.
It was just, it seemed like CAG didn't know where to have their backs to. And it was great play from FaZe to create not only the levels of actual pressure, but the phantom pressure as well.
Yeah.
Get the breach on towards the master side open, pick themselves up.
Well, if you had been able to swap like Blackray and Anderton around, so Anderton on the clash inside of the hallway, blocking that kind of position, 2 players for FaZe there, you wouldn't be able to just get the free kill. That could have been a bit of a difference point. So in terms of positioning, I think that's always going to be something that CAG have to be mindful of on a map like Lair, right? So I think when you come into this kind of map, if your positioning is not going to be good, it's going to get punished.
Working on resolving the issue. Just along the bottom there, as you can see it. It's just a quick tech problem. We'll hopefully get through it sooner rather than later. Thank you for bearing with us throughout the day as well. That looks like an all good hand symbol. Which, I mean, I know I'm just reading into... I'm play-by-playing real people. Do you ever have that when you have to explain your jobs to people? And I don't know if you've ever had that.
I've done that on plenty of occasions in Ubers.
And they'll go, what do you do?
So what do you do for work?
You know, like a sports commentator? I do that, but for video games.
Yes, that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. Oh, I like the little car. If you, yeah, there we go. If you were to have a little memento, a little something cherished item as a player, what would you have? Do you have anything that's emotionally significant?
No, not really.
Wow, okay. You live a life without any emotional attachments to anything.
You've left that pretty open-ended.
I have left that pretty open.
Talking about
like
a
little
memento here, not necessarily
toy.
just life in general.
I would have a treasured stuffed toy, I think.
Like a picture of Hap or something?
God, no. No, it's bad luck charm. Unfortunately,
I wouldn't mind like a chibi keychain of Guz.
You would, yeah.
Yeah, that would be... I'd
A little
bring it.
chibi Guz.
Yeah. Like a little like charm that you put on your gun skin.
Imagine if Guz, like a physical photo of Guz became the next charm. We're leaking. We're leaking. No, that is
Well,
not
we're back into the game. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we are back in. We'll
Issue
stop
has
talking.
been resolved, fortunately, and we can head into the second round. CAG opting to head on over towards Lab. But yeah, first round, I mean, that's not probably a good sign for CAG, the way that they ended up losing that.
No.
I think top floor Lairs, one of the better sites to be able to defend. You've brought the clash. You have typically a good means of delaying and stopping the entries, and yeah, it ends up being flawless. Like, that is the kind of site that really shouldn't often be a flawless for the attacking team. So really signifying that FaZe are very much amped up and ready for this match. They're giving the respect over to CAG after what they were able to do to Fury yesterday.
I think what we're looking at now, obviously, is if they have an awareness. More than anything, as I said, they looked a bit lost on where they could turn to and where they could go here. The first pull on towards Intel isn't going to make that any easier. The Flores drone, again, gets rid of the blind spot, gets rid of the barbed wire, and exactly that. They're not only piecing themselves out, they're taking care of utility, and they're doing it within the opening 30 seconds here. And it just not only gets rid of these threats later on in the round and deals with them, so they're pretty much inconsequential, but at the same time, this is just all a steady removal of how much awareness CAG are able to have here, and they just have to sort of sit and wait and let it happen currently.
Yeah, and it's not as if, CAG are in a position where they've got like a super abundant of map control over towards, say, first floor, play the vert. You've only got Sharif there over towards Armory. So there's not that much of a contest. So now you're sitting on a basement site where you've lost a lot of your utility. We saw the Vulcan canister get popped, the Obs blocker, the Evil Eye, of course, got Clutch Drone too, so that has to get popped. You're kind of left with really your gas babes, a Nitrocell, and really your lives with 90 seconds left. FaZe are in a really commanding position where they've got that first floor. Boogie Auto Breaches go out. They deal with the floorboards, rip that up. And so now you've got vertical pressure. You've dealt with a lot of the utility from the defense on the site. FaZe have set themselves up really nicely in this second round. So it's up to CAG now to opt for that counterpunch. What are they going to do? If it's going to be anyone, it might end up being a Sharif first floor if he does go for some kind of first floor retake.
Well, they've got KDS on the back line watching it out, and Chibisu is just ready for the swing on it. They're both aware, and they're actually going to start to opt to take the soft angle as the breach comes around. He knows he needs to win this backside engagement as the main push. As we can see, it's just being steadily droned, steadily pushed ahead. It's focus being drawn on each other, and again, there's nothing that is actively stopping this from the side of CAG. They're also droning out the back. Cyber wins the first fight, takes care of Sireneko, and now the spray comes against it. Chibisu takes a lot of damage, and they're dropped from the above Cyber on Overwatch. Swinging around, Sharif does stop handy, and the awkward position of Cyber is that he is going to have to try and rotate and offer some help if they start to drop bodies. It's technically, directly on the side of 3 versus 3, and they still have the pressure of the kit itself. It's going to be another closed-door fight here. KDS is itching for the swing, but Sharif doubles down and takes it first. We still see some activity with the Goyo canister.
And careful with Vidiking. Solo in lockers, he's got the kit, so he's by himself. If he goes down, Kit's in a bit of a bad spot. Souls has to make the push in. There he is. Vidiking's down. Diffuser actually on the floor in sight right now, not in the hands of CyberZero at all. Into red time, 3v1. Big turnaround from CAG as they bring the round back and get themselves on the board against FaZe Clan.
I mean, we saw the sort of demonstration there at the end. As I said, if things start to go wrong for the side of FaZe, Cyber has to make a move. And if things are going right, the plan's coming together as it did at the start, and he was able to get the couple kills from that Overwatch position, then fantastic. But it does isolate you. It does leave you in this long watch. And they just, for all the compliments paid towards the removal of utility, CAG's refusal to give them this gunfight that they were so ready for, so patient for such a long time, well, it just sort of put them in a problematic position. I mean, we saw players holding doorways for a good 40 seconds. Cyber was trying to opt for things. The take of Handy on the vertical. There's the drop onto the door. And, you know, at that point, I mean, beautiful take from Black Great either side. Nanaton on the long watch. And we're leveled back up.
And the reason why I think that's a really good round for CAG is FaZe did a lot of the fundamentals right. Dealt with the utility on the site, got the first floor control, open up the floorboards with the Boogie Auto Breaches, and then start to make your way towards site. Felt like they did it in a pretty decent, timely manner as well. So it's not as if that was a fumble by FaZe by any means. CAG hit some really good shots. FaZe even got the opening kill into the round as well. So, I mean, CAG had to really fight tooth and nail, hit some really good shots. They were under a heap of pressure. I mean, you saw Chibisu, the way he lost his life in the Warden because of the vert hold up above. Never even really got to use his glasses, never got to use his Nitrocell. So things weren't going well for CAG, yet they win the round. So that is a really good testament for this team that they didn't buckle under the pressure.
Well, the start is back and forth and kind of what we want, really. It's a late game. It's a late sort of time in the hour of all of it.
It's the CAG o'clock.
It's CAG o'clock. It's CAG in time. And this was always the sort of point yesterday of, you know, do it once and it's exceptional, it's exciting. Do it twice and maybe you're making more of a statement.
Well, there goes your hard breach as well, and no tin can openers for FaZe Clan. So suddenly now this is going to be a bit more tricky into this third round, over towards Bunks and Briefing. And with that Nitrocell from Anaton, not only, of course, getting rid of the hard breach, but you get the kill too. And still 2 more Nitros available into the round. FaZe are going to have to find a second avenue in towards the site. They're going to have to go to plan B now, having lost CyberZero. So yeah, CAG at least following on from that second round with a good start this time for round 3, because they've had slow starts for rounds 1 and 2. But a good start here for round 3. First time they've got on the board with an opening kill as well.
I mean, I really like that C4 lineup. He was just tucked on the other side of the security door. He had a little bit of an opening above it as well, but actually Sireneko cuts Handy in half as he went for the sort of steady face clear and check. At this point, you know, 2 players down, you've lost your hard breach, you've lost your rush.
This is lazy from FaZe. They're just peeking. Because they've lost hard breach, they can't get better entries. They have to basically go for solo mission roam, see if they can get a couple of kills. And credit to CAG, they're aware of that. They know that hard breach is down. They know they're going to have to go for these doorway entries, and they're just sitting and they're just waiting, and they're very patient. They're not over swinging and over peeking, kind of what they did a little bit on the opening round. And this time now it's FaZe that are getting antsy. They're seeking out. They're trying to just find these players, and they're just not ready for the gunfights. 5v2. This is pretty dominant from CAG in the 3rd round.
Well, Echo isn't entirely going to opt in, but with 50 seconds, 2 players, some, you know, bolts in your Capitão to get some coverage. What else do you really have right now? They've eyed themselves inside the site, but again, CAG aren't offering anything immediately. They let them step in. Blackray operates on souls, and there is a flawless. So we've gone from 1 to FaZe to a little bit of a trade to a flawless to CAG. Strange pacing here. Nighttime in Boston.
Stop the count. I've seen enough as an APAC shill. It's all done. CAG are winning Six Invitational. Calling it.
Now you've jinxed it.
Well, they've actually taken a tactical timeout, and it is CAG who have gone and done this, which is
surprising.
Well, quite surprising. I mean, I think it was yesterday I mentioned, you know, sometimes it's fine to take that more positive reinforcement timeout. Things are looking good.
Yeah.
You know, let's just kind of reinforce that. Let's not maybe get ahead of ourselves. And that's maybe what this particular timeout for CAG is sort of like, hey, we're doing well, good response. 1st round was a bit, you know, poor. 2nd round, we had to fight our way. 3rd round was clean. Let's not lose sight, though, that this is going to be a battle. Like, okay, that was clean, that was flawless, but you're not going to get that every round. Don't, you know, rest on your laurels. Don't get that sense of security, if you will. So it might just be sort of, let's keep it going. Big couple of rounds coming up. 2-1 lead for CAG. It's just the beginning. And we head back to Master and R6 as we look at the replays from that previous round. And it all started off with Nitrous, and that really set the tone for the round.
That great take. I mean, it's an odd angle to be prepped on the fight outside the door. You can almost compare it to the opening round where things went so wrong for CAG because they were trying to take similar fights. They were peeking out the windows, they were in the middle of corridors, they were in these aggressive positions, and yet nothing was netted at all. Here, different story. Again, super curious what the conversation is about, but who knows? At this point, you have a weird mix in this lobby, right? Of a lot of old gunners, a lot of very old gunners, and then some people in their first ever SI. 3 of CAG's players, Chibisu, Shurip, and Echo, haven't been on these hallowed halls of Six Invitational before, but Anaton and Blackray, in, I think, SI 2021, were on a CAG roster that went up against a FaZe roster that I think had at least Souls and Cyber on it, I believe.
Don't look at me with the can you give me affirmation vibes.
I'm sorry.
That was barely,
give me affirmation.
I think I only just came into Siege.
There was, but it shows that the history, I can't remember who won that one. It's a little bit further away than my knowledge.
Actually, I did work that SI though.
How did it feel?
It was good.
Oh, is it the Paris one?
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
Memories. Like the shadows. We find ourselves waiting. Like the shadows, adrift and holding out for some of the pressure to start to come through. As much as CAG could talk, so could FaZe.
So the big change up here, CAG, is they dropped the Clash. It had no involvement, as I mentioned in the opening round, so I think that's going to be better for Anaton. You bring the Kaid and try and just be a little bit more of a nuisance here on the breaches, and because the Clash had no real say in the round, you may as well then just drop it. And FaZe are good enough that they can play around it anyway. Anaton hasn't quite been able to get the full juggle. In fact, that is going to be opened up and unable to stop Master Breach from, well, realistically becoming at least some kind of focal point here for FaZe. And again, when it comes to Master and R6, FaZe don't necessarily have to go, you know, in the building and around the map. A lot of it's going to be roof play outside of the exterior balcony positions, and then it's all going to just hit the site pretty hard and fast. And that's where CAG need to be prepared and ready. A couple of Nitrocells in this round. You've got the Yokais too for any potential late round disruptions when it comes to the plant. Hitting on the Montang in this particular round as well. First time we're going to see the Montang employed by FaZe. They didn't bring it last time here top floor.
A minute and all players still standing, but FaZe is slows down on this utility game. Was pretty excellent before, and there's nothing that's slowing them down here, but we are about to hit a breach. Will they try and play against it? No, here comes the roll of the shield. The Monty eyes up the R6 room, and there might be a chance of a swing round from the shoulder, but again, the phantom pressure, because FaZe is so adept at opening up the width. You can see KDS just sat waiting, hoping Chibisu goes for the swing and he can get the same removal. Vidiking is in. He has the kit and he's going to go for a plant. At this point, there needs to be an activation.
Yeah, Yokai just got shot out by Handy. Nitrocell, though, from Anaton does get the kill onto Vidiking. Good flexibility from CAG. Lost a bit of their win comp, didn't matter.
And Echo, he's underneath. He's trying to hold on to it and he doesn't know where he's being shot from. He had himself in a trap, and Anaton gets a second for the round. CAG. Last time they were here, I said they looked a bit lost, and this time they had eyes absolutely everywhere. Brilliant, brilliant adaptations, as you pointed out.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of like a three-pronged adaptation, if you want to kind of go through it a little bit here. The Yokai drone is to stop the plant from going down. So that's kind of like the first bit of the win con. It goes up onto the ceiling, Handy shoots from outside, Yokai's gone, and you think, oh, okay, well, we've lost that. Doesn't matter. Nitrocell next to get thrown in. You've expended that. You don't have another one. Guess what? Then you've got the third ability to deny. Sireneko down below. So you've literally set up this like three-pronged layer of just stopping the plant, and FaZe can't really do too much about it because they don't have anyone below. They shot out the Yokai and they lost, of course, their Montang to the Nitrocell. So CAG were always one step ahead. They always had an answer. 3-1 up. And it's the fashion in which they've won this round that really impresses me. This is some of the best Siege that I've seen from CAG in a very, very long time. Since, well, I guess last night.
Yeah, I was going to say, throw your minds back. CAG, 3-1 up here. Now, they are on their defense. Obviously, they're going to have some benefits there in terms of just the statistics of this map, how it likes to play itself together. They'll have some struggles when they come onto the attack. But still, as you pointed out, what is so convincing here is how they're adapting to what is going ahead, and also how relaxed they're sort of playing. That they're not throwing themselves into every single aggressive situation after that first round where it didn't quite go so well. I say as a player is trying to look out a door with a boss G, but he didn't find anyone, and he left sooner rather than later. They're just ensuring that they have some sort of valid responses for the pressures that are coming out, and they're not doing, you know, too much of a let's test phase on every single doorway. I say, once again, as Vigil goes outside, maybe I should stop saying they're not being aggressive, and Shuri might stay in the building.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I kind of just trust what CAG want to do. They've been able to execute pretty nicely to begin here on Lair, so you kind of just have to back in their plans. Now, FaZe now are in a position where they need to adapt because CAG are very much dictating this game. Vidiking on the Montang, get some information. This is definitely going to be
to his left,
a good site for the Montang to be able to kind of roam around, eventually try and spot out where these roamers may be. And that's a free kill. Cyberzera catches out Anaton. Opening kill for FaZe, the first time they've been able to do that since the second round. Sharif, the boss G, trying to see if he can get an answer back, but no, misses out on his shot. 90 seconds left, at the very least still offering a point of difference being on the roam. FaZe will have to be mindful and wary of the Vigil. They have to give Sharif the respect. Oh.
Doesn't want to take the fight. And you can see Cyber was baiting for a while, using the skeleton key to make a bit of noise, then instantly aiming at the door. But look how much attention it is driving. And Chibisu's also rotated his way up as well to try and double down on the fight. They know they want to win the verticality. They've sort of abandoned the site that the Monty is stealing. And there's Chibisu getting that kill on towards Cyber above. So now, technically, the vertical has fallen to the favor. But it did not work for FaZe last time. So now that they're able to rest the site, they've got to make it happen. KDS coming around the back of the Tubarao, who's able to slip away just in time with a self-timed flash. Handy does find Black Ray. They at least get something out of it, and Handy isn't quite letting this one go just yet. A second, but a C4 ripped a little bit too short. Doesn't quite get the angle. The Monty's got the reveal, and he knows it's being fed in. He's doing all that he can, but it leaves just Chibisu, the man who rotated off the site. But when the Monty is planting the shields on his back, Xenox, what are you going to do? You can't break that through the verticality. At this point, a 1 versus 4 retake with a Monty on. Seems like a little bit of a failed ploy here has led to FaZe just balling their way into the site.
Poor old Chibisu now in a 1 versus 4 post-plant scenario. They know he's pushing yellow. Well, Handy will finish off his handiwork throughout that particular round. He was the one that set the tone. He goes and gets a couple of kills in quick succession. As the clock starts to wind down, he finds the impactful moments. A second round acquired now for FaZe as CAG got off to a bit of a hot start. They've just been able to reel them in that 5th round. Much better performance, good use of the Montaigne, good map control, eventually able to make their way towards site, and a rather clinical round from FaZe where they didn't make too many errors, and CAG probably did get a little too antsy and aggressive at times, and trying to find these particular fights earlier in the round. But even then, 48 seconds, it's a 4v4. Handy just goes bang, opens up the site, gets rid of a lot of the defenders, and it all becomes a bit too easy for FaZe in the end.
I've got to give compliments the same way we did to CAG's adaptation to FaZe, getting the Monty on the board. Now, the last time we were on that site, what we talked about was they're sort of stuck on these angles, on these last swing in. What solves that? Having a lot of plates of sheet metal in front of your face. Yes, they used it to shepherd the players above as well because there was a little bit more aggression on that ground floor this time round. But at the same time, as soon as they got into the angles, the Monty was just there, ever present. And suddenly these positions where the last time we were on the basement that, CAG players were sort of sat, waiting, happy to let time tick away. They didn't have that option anymore. It was removed. And then ultimately the players were as well. Great change by FaZe, leads to a bit of success. Here, will they have the same ideas? It opened with a C4 onto the hard breach. This time they've at least got themselves doubling up with a second bit of support and range. No more thermite deploying if they go for the same wall, but there's gonna be some very keen eyes on towards security door this time. And a drone. Yeah, they are not falling for it. Look how much has been stacked after the thermite got C4'd last time. Nothing on the back of at least the kill hole. Tiburow will buy them some time, though, but is it all that they need, Xenox?
Yeah, I mean, that's really just what you want right now if you're CAG, is just to delay the early portion of this round. You want to force the Maverick to kind of work through this nuisance, keep players around him for a little bit longer so they're not getting as much map control. I like the positioning here of Blackray. Maybe he can get a bit fortunate. Of course, then is also in a position where if he needs to, can still throw gas babes down through the vert. Here in Echo, the only one really contesting this at the moment on the tuber out. Only one more Zoto canister remaining, so there's only so much more that you can look to delay. But in fairness, I mean, there's only 90 seconds left into the round. So, I mean, like, it was a pretty decent delay tactic for CAG on that particular wall. I'd probably almost consider it a success.
It's the weird way of putting it, right? Is we don't know what FaZe mark as a success for that wall. It's soft and it's a bit dangerous and deadly. And as soon as it was, they moved off. Now they're in the bottom of green. The opposite end of that, and they're ready to try and put some pressure on. There is some bandit tricking going on towards the wall, even. Maybe it isn't as soft as I thought, and well, they're gonna have to kind of come up with a plan B here. The trick on towards it, and you can see Handy is a little bit confused as to how that's come together. CAG still have a position above. They're not pushing themselves in towards the pre-held angle. There's nobody that's forcing the player on towards it.
If you can keep that bank breach secure, especially now into the final 45 seconds, it's really going to be impactful for CAG on the defense. They won't get as pinched. If it gets opened up, then there's far more of an opportunity for that to happen.
Players just being hot pinged inside, has no idea he's that known, the Tubarao, and he's sat on an angle. There's some of the watch above. There's the force and the pressure. They're smoked out. Cyber's actually stuck in a very narrow corner, and the security door swing, the C4 over the top, doesn't even get anyone because they're already dead. Blackray gets Cyber, and the buck is too high, and it hits the ground and right back up. For a second follow through, he is security checking the passes. Blackray gets one on the back, and well, we wondered if maybe FaZe were a bit stalled out, and I think the answer is sort of clear throughout the round on an adventure, but at this point, the round is theirs. A 4-2 half for CAG.
Yeah, I mean, a tremendous job getting the trick onto the Salmas over towards the bunk breach, because if that gets opened up, then being able to play in the site the way that CAG did would just not really be as viable. So that staying closed meant that they could really contest the push from FaZe over towards main breach, and they didn't have to worry about getting shot in the back. They could be far more aggressive at that push from FaZe. Well played half from CAG. I mean, you've just got to give them the plaudits. The way that they've kicked things off here for Six Invitational, winning yesterday against Furia. a winning half now against FaZe. It's just all about, can you continue to do this? Because everyone's probably expecting at some point, oh, this has been good from CAG, but can we really anticipate for them to actually continue all the way, go and get this win against FaZe? Second half coming up. Pressure certainly a little bit on FaZe now. They do not want to get embarrassed here.
Sorry, you may be wondering what's happened. I think there's been a hand warmer incident. So they're just cleaning the desk, just making sure everything is nice and all right.
I mean, they are working on resolving the issue.
They're working on resolving the issue, and I think the issue is pretty resolved at that point.
It's not a big issue.
These things happen. I mean, because they'll have hand warmers around.
They got so excited they popped the hand warmer.
Yeah, I don't know if like just the Hulk, just like those things are tough. They get bumped and they accidentally get knocked around. The players have them because you know you want to keep your tools of the trade as warm as possible, right? Get them in, get them ready, and all cleaned up. Make sure that the players are sorted. But 4-2 from the defensive half. Now, again, it's not that unusual in the world.
No, it's not, but you've got to consider in this instance, right? This is not like, you know, FaZe versus BDS where you'd say, okay, this is a pretty neutral or even kind of game. Like, you've got to say, for CAG coming into this tournament, into this group, like when the groups got announced, I think I was reading on Reddit, and obviously a lot of people are like Group of Death, or CAG, like CAG have copped it, and yet they've gone and beaten Fury. They're now being ultra competitive against FaZe, so much as so they're leading by 2 rounds. You've just got to say, this is a decent effort from them right now. Again, there may be a world in which FaZe just going to, you know, clean house on defense, but right now, because of the lead that CAG have, regardless about defense, it just gives them that positive reinforcement. And it's like, hey, we can do this. We can beat these guys. And now, what happens if we go and get an early attacking round and it's 5-2? FaZe are going to be like, oh my god, we're shambolic.
FaZe still have their timeout as well. Obviously, the one that was called earlier on in the game was CAG. So with this second half, if things do start to fall a little bit apart, they don't really have that chance at a conversation.
This will be the testing half, though, Emmy. I do agree. I think CAG now onto the attack. They're the ones that are going to have to play into FaZe's defense, and so that's not going to be the easy task. Sharif onto the Deimos. Deathmark goes out onto Cyber. But again, when you're playing with that kind of level of confidence based on the momentum from yesterday's win against Furia, that is very much apparent right now for CAG. They have the confidence that they can walk around the map here on Lair and take these fights and not be scared of FaZe.
I think one of the things right now as well is the MVP of yesterday, BlackRay, is looking to see if he can try and get the double down on that reward. 8-2. He's going for the lead in here alongside the Blackbeard of Anaton, a fantastic and well-storied shield player utilizing
that's
US changes. Yeah, it's a bit of an early smoke. It does some of the damage towards the shield itself, but it doesn't really force anything off. You've still got a minute 40 or so to play with here. They've put that very loud statement on the top of green. They're sneaking their way back round. They want to draw more attention. There's an impact that will force the player a bit further back, and BlackRay sticking on the angle, but it's actually Chivisu that's able to get the first kill there on towards Vidaking. You remove the smoke. Only one of the canisters utilized. There is a lot of damage that has been done to Sireneko, that has been done to Anaton, really, so it doesn't take much more of one of the sides of the C4s and impact to stop it, but still, first blow and first blood is then responded to.
Yeah, and FaZe still have got a couple of Nitrosols, Vulcan canisters that we just saw before as well, still prepped for the entry from CAG. Sireneko's also low, Anaton's been tagged up a little bit, so I still like the position of the round for FaZe. I think they're in a pretty good spot to close this out. Sharif caught with an 8 in hand, and he's going to just finish him off, and that's the advantage now for FaZe. Anaton absolutely burning here. Very low health on the Blackbeard, 40 seconds left, and they lose another one and one more for good measure. Only Sireneko left, and he too will fall to Cyber. FaZe, a bit of a statement start here for the second half because that was clinical. Yes, CAG get an early kill. Yes, things aren't looking too bad, but FaZe always, to me, felt like they had more than enough in the back pocket.
I mean, I'm a bit curious. I'm gonna dig into that a little bit, Rant. So we had all of the build-up. A minute 30 was kind of the mark where they got the first kill remaining, and then they'd put all that pressure on towards green. Then they lose a body, and then all the deaths and all the fighting on the other half happened very, very quickly. We saw in pretty much direct succession the Selma that went onto the operation mirror window. Then we saw this fight where the Deimos didn't even expect to find a fight at the top. And then we come back to this where they're past operation. It's almost like CAG just went, we need to afterburners. We need to go right now. We gotta go. Oh, everything's over. And it's a bit of a curious pacing. I'm not entirely sure what they saw, what they thought that they could pull apart here, or what they thought they lost, but from such a long build on towards green to suddenly just full sending it towards the walkway and up sort of main stairs.
Well, I mean, this is also just FaZe at the moment in time where they felt like, okay, we've lost one, CAG starting to, you know, bear down towards the site. They've just got to pick the time in which they want to go for that counter-attack, and they did so in a pretty timely fashion. You know, literally caught Shriek red-handed with a nade, and Handy's then able to get a pretty easy kill. Chibisu gets caught just standing in the hallway, probably not expecting the FaZe to be the ones to aggress into them, and just like that, bam, snap of the fingers, 2 players dead, and suddenly FaZe then have the advantage.
Well, Cyber tried to have a look out of a window, but suffered a little bit. Not dead, not knocked out. Anaton going to try and get some of the work done on a wall that was a constant back and forth. There is a bit of an explosion from Black Ray, who I think wanted to get one of the claws on the wall itself. This is happening on the side of the screen. There it is, as the wall does get open. Now, in the same sort of stretch of things, they pull away. And we think about how much FaZe struggled with that position. It has been, I'm not going to say handed to them, but FaZe didn't contest it anywhere near as much as CAG did. Is that going to be something that either comes back to haunt them or plays perfectly into the ploy and the plan?
So the clash involved for Vidiking. And FaZe probably have more than enough firepower that they don't need the clash, and that's just KDS being a little bit careless, and Cyreneko is going to be able to find the opening kill for CAG. Yet another one for them. Chibisu does lose his life on the Grim. No more Kawan Hive Launcher for the round. No bees to be buzzing. Vidiking can get some free information on the clash.
Wow, I mean, it's twice that Cyber has been able to get the response kill there. A lot of damage from Cyreneko's Firebolt, but nothing that's going to entirely knock them out. The Flash can sort of play a little bit of keep away. They go in on the back of their own Flash, hoping the player was just going to be trying to run away, but they pull themselves back. There's the removal of the Banshee, but now there's a swing on the door, and Handy drops the kit as well.
Just lingered in the doorway too long.
Yeah, and you know, he was taking the risk, and it's almost this moment where it's 3, 2, 1, go again. They're suddenly trying to throw themselves into these fights. I'm not going to say it feels less prepared, but round to the left, the Solace seems well aware that they're coming in. There's Cyber getting one more, and I mean, it's just been a real turnabout here. FaZe have fully read what CAG are trying to do.
They have, and they're punishing some of the mistakes. I mean, Anaton wants to get rid of some utility, flashes in, bam, okay, and then just lingers in the doorway. Handy then punishes that because as soon as he swings, Anaton's just an easy target. And then from there, you see Black Ray go and make entry. Can I go get a quick kill, keep this round alive? Dead. FaZe are very much understanding that for CAG, they're probably going to move away from the game plan if they lose 1 or 2 players, and they'll start scurrying around trying to get a couple of kills back. They were ready for it, and it's going to be 4-4, and this is where you do get a little bit concerned for CAG. On the attack so far on Lair, it hasn't been all that great. FaZe strong defensively.
Yeah, I think you're trying to piece it together and take it apart here, right? And I entirely agree, FaZe is strong defensively. As I said, when the wall fell, I was like, okay, is this part of the plan? Fully, yes. They were more than happy to sort of let that position go because they knew they had such a strong hold above it, around it, on the back end of it. They were comfortable saying, yeah, you can have that wall. It's all you're going to get, but you can have it. But at the same time, it still feels like CAG is struggling to piece together just where they need to be. And you know, you've got individuals trying to take whole areas, right? The pressure there on towards the stairs, the Capitao holding that position. It got 1 kill from the back of it because the player backed into it, but then they were just sat there for an extra 20, 30 seconds eyeing a sort of clash, and you're starting to entirely wonder, you know, what is CAG's game plan from these individual moments? When we saw FaZe at its strongest, or when we generally see any team at their strongest, it's all working on this operational level. There's a lot of pushes and responses, there's calls, there's motions, and CAG are trying to piece it together, but it feels like there's just a couple of gaps in the sort of connectivity between the players. This site might offer a little bit more because it is quite a wide sort of basement play. You have to be quite direct with your positional, and there's not really as much sort of rootage above and below, you are hitting a basement. How many ways can you do it?
Well, we've played so far 8 rounds, 5 opening kills for CAG, and obviously using that previous 2 rounds now as an example, though they've not been able to actually go on and capitalize. As we've started this second half, CAG have got the opening kills twice as the attacking team, but then not gone on to establish an actual lead. FaZe get quick responses, quick trades, they even back up to 4-4. They can just make the most of these opening kills, then CAG can put themselves into a position where they can still get something from this map, but it's hard to feel as if it's going to go any other way than FaZe on the defensive layer. They're looking very sharp, very strong defensively, making their moves at the right time. Even if CAG do get a kill, they don't back down. They almost like push forward, try and find one back, and they're doing so very successfully. And right now, CAG just don't have the answer. There is one close by here to Sharif. Has the ping information as well.
It's just a hunt, though. It's a hunt for ghosts, and they're not quite able to find the engagement. KDS will peel back to somewhere they have a bit more support. They've at least got a shoulder shake that they can get there. It's otherwise, you know, not entirely forced out. It might be pressure that's about to come on the support side here as a set of
Chibis
to be offered. But it's turned into, I think, a 2 versus 2 now as well. Anaton showed up to help support. Shurip is the one that goes down to Cyber, who on this second half, I mean, he's always great, but he's gotten 3K, 2K, and now he's opened up here with one more. It's turning into a bit of a bloody war here. Black
They're forcing it.
Cyber.
They're just forcing it right now. CAG just wanting to take the battle and hope that they can scrap their way in towards the site. It's almost somewhat working. Despite losing Sharif, they do get that kill onto Cyber. They get much better map control as well. The positioning over towards lockers has been established because they elected to just take the fights, not be scared off by the presence of FaZe. And they've done so with still a lot of time on the clock. So this is not awful from CAG. A little bit better than what we've seen maybe in the last 2 rounds on the attack. They look like they've got a bit of a game plan and what they want to do.
40 seconds. Look at the health in KDS as well. They are only just hanging in here. Black Ray starts to get some of this width. And an opening potentially eyeing up on towards a fight with the Kaid, who we've seen drift outside the building a couple of times. Vidaking isn't opting for the fight as of yet, but it's now an option for him to play with just as much. Handy, ready for the engagement here from the swing, but Shiraneko actually enters from the other side in and amongst the smoke, but his cordon of smoke. Souls gets Chibisu, and they can't quite get the fight as they choke the player out as well. 10 seconds, and at least one on the door, but instantly responded, leaving just Anaton alone. Not for long. FaZe get themselves 3 in a row, and as we said before, that CAG timeout long ago isn't able to come again at this point. How do you sort of rebuild yourself?
I mean, this is when you would love to take that time out now. Down 4-5, you're not out of reach, right? It's only a 1-round differential, but it also has now been 3 rounds in a row for FaZe. They've got that momentum. They're looking very strong and very difficult to break down onto the defense. I still liked what we saw from CAG, a little bit of adaptation, middle portion of that round compared to the first 2 opportunities on the attack. They brute force their way through. Cyber gets this kill, and CAG like, okay, we need to push, get position. They get the kill onto Cyber. They get Locker's control, and they set it up. It's essentially a 4v4 with 20 seconds to go. Anything can happen at that point, so they've put themselves into a winnable position. Unfortunately, though, they run into a brick wall. Souls gets a couple of kills, locks down his position, and from there, then FaZe obviously have the numbers, and CAG are also out of time. So 4-5, they're going to have to work things out on the fly, Emmy, because they do not have that tactical timeout, taking it in the 3rd round after they went 2-1 up. Those are the risks you take.
It's been a very good delay as well of the approach there of CAG. I mean, you look at how they were handling that site. There was Goyo canisters, smoke canisters, Banshees, Ela mines, everything that would make a team that loves to get in and swing suffer in those engagements. That is how FaZe is holding them at arm's length on those bigger, wider sites. Here on the top, where it's a little bit more direct, you put yourself back round, but they still obviously have Vidaking on the clash, who can be that active read. The drop of Handy was the first last time we were on the top floor, and it didn't amount to a win, but you want to get those smokes gone as quickly as possible. Instead, seems like focus is on towards Walkway. Will it peel its way round, or the breach is at least happening on towards Master?
I mean, at the very least for CAG, I think they've got FaZe's respect because they're making them work for it in a lot of these rounds, especially in that previous one. They had a very good first half, went up 4-2. But the respect is short-lived, because then after today, it doesn't really matter anymore. They've already played each other and they both go their separate ways. But FaZe right now have definitely had to work for it here on Lair. It is their map pick as well, so you kind of take that into account. Whenever it's your map pick, you're getting pushed, a bit of a slow start. FaZe just have that experience. They're not wiltering under the pressure from the early portion from CAG. And now CAG are the ones under pressure, under fire. No timeout, no time to talk things over. They've just got to move on, get into this 10th round. Flash once again employed by Vidiking. He doesn't need to find kills, just needs to be in use and get into the good position, block out the hallways. And this is exactly what he's doing. Last time out in the first half, we saw it from CAG. They opted for Blackray, who wasn't on the clash in that position. This time, FaZe doing it with the better operator.
Wow, able to take care of that Candela. Not going to stop them as of yet. They're throwing the bees and everything. You're not going to be able to shoot out the one that's cooked, but Handy cooks first. There's the spray. The goo mine stops the aggression. The clash is showing up, and Shuri is underneath trying to get some damage done, but it doesn't matter because FaZe just know when to swing, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and CAG are being folded. Pushed back away from their initial point, and once again, green and the top area on the backside of the walkway has not netted a result. Blackray moving their way over. It's the moment I talked about before where the plan B was a bit rushed, a bit chaotic, and involved jumping in and throwing yourself into the firing line. It doesn't seem like they're doing it with the same pace. Instead, they're being a bit slower, but you need the remaining 4 players to stack up right now. The flashes come through, an air jab to try and cover a bit of motion. Misses the first engagement. There's a fight on the stairs. It's actually 2 isolated, 1 versus 1. Support's about to come through, and there it is. A C4 does find Anaton. The Deimos needs to interact, but they've just handed them in a very small microcosm of pain. Individual 1 versus 1s. FaZe amongst all of that slowed things down like an athlete controlling their heartbeat and said, I can deal with this, we can isolate this, we'll do this, and now we've done this, and we've got them all.
I was watching on our second monitor, the top-down view. Shuri probably wasting a good 20 seconds with the death mark trying to deal with the smoke and push up main stairs, and just got completely stalled out. Had no impact as the Deimos at the final portion of that round, and you can't be essentially down your Deimos at that point in the game. Sometimes you just got to throw that death mark out and then go for rotate somewhere else. You don't always have to take that fight. I thought Handy actually played it incredibly well, not just in this point of the replay, but in the latter stages of the round. When you're getting tracked by the Deimos, it's very easy to feel that pressure, but he almost welcomed it and said, if you want to come main stairs, bring it on. Yep. And that's exactly what Sharif ended up trying to do. Lost the battle, shotgun too good against the Vendetta. And it was a pretty clean round for FaZe. They go 6-4 up. CAG, I don't know if they've got the answers to bring this one back now.
I mean, how do you? They're still not a million miles away, but you can really see they're struggling to piece apart FaZe's defense because FaZe are playing it brilliantly. I highlighted it there, just how good they are at isolating individual moments. The comms are clear and precise. They know where they need to be. You see players going to actively support each other, pull back, move around, cover the utility, all the pieces intricately moving. And it's just so well rehearsed, so well practiced, and so mobile as well. Again, you look towards the operators, the selection, it's a lot about sort of wasting time. The goo mines can set themselves up, play against the intel. There's trying to be gathered with the mute jammers, but it's delay, it's banshees, it's smokes, and it's everything that really hinders CAG from reaching their full mobile potential.
Yeah, FaZe just aren't messing around. They're not really making any kind of errors or mistakes, which means that for CAG, you know, you think about it in terms of the local region, a lot of the times teams do well in, say, Japan or Korea in terms of the top teams is because they punish a lot of the mistakes from the lesser teams. It's hard to do that when you're going up against a team of the caliber of FaZe. Spray through from Cyber, doesn't quite get the kill. That would have been onto Anaton as well, so that would have been a pretty decent start to the round for FaZe. Does get a little bit of damage, but yeah, again, it's just FaZe that are the ones that are dictating the entire round so far in this second half. Every single round, it's FaZe doing everything to really just offset CAG's attack. They get rid of Sharif, they lose the A. Sharif has had really no involvement in this second half. 2-8 now overall, 90 seconds left, and CAG is just struggling to even get into the building.
I mean, again, even just the motion there, Anaton sprinting past the half breach, it would have been bad to lose him. It also would have left the kit in a very visible, awkward to recollect area. Blackray missing the moment here. The shotgun now can sit and wait the same way that you complimented CAG for having these positions, though. Black Ray baits the noise of the Banshee. Didn't need to swing, you're entirely right, but he sort of played into it, especially when you look at the Fenrir mine that's above the door as well.
Still don't need to swing.
Well, the Handy wants to do handy things.
I mean, Handy can probably have
he's
that
11 to 4.
He's 11 and 4. He's allowed to.
I
don't know about the 1-7 Vidiking swing, especially when you're playing smoke. Could fall back, play fire, use the gas babes, but as you said, got baited in by the Banshee and probably just wanted to get a kill on the board. Cyber gets through to share an echo. This might still, though, be a FaZe looking to clean things up and looking for a flawless second half. Only 35 seconds remaining for the trio of CAG, and Chibisu out of nowhere finds 2 kills in quick succession, but so does FaZe as well to answer back imminently, leaving a very low health Chibisu, who needs to basically almost find an ace to close things out for CAG in this round. Otherwise, FaZe are looking at a 7-4 victory on Lair.
20 seconds, he can't even get to the kit in that time. It has to be a win via kills. So he's looking to see if he can try and find the first up green. They're well aware, well prepared. And well, that's FaZe, and what a performance it was. Cool, calm, and collected. Yes, there were some moments on the first half, but they knew where they needed to do it. They knew where they needed to take it, and that was the second half. CAG, it's obviously not their map. They still have the potential.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, FaZe are looking good.
Yeah, FaZe looked really good because they got pressured as well by CAG in that first half. 4-2 from CAG, and then just utterly flawless from that point onwards from FaZe Clan, making no real mistake on that second half. They really showed the caliber of the team that they are here for Six Invitational. 1-0 for FaZe, Border on the other side of the break.
All feels right and good in the world once again. The Lion takes back the jungle, and CAG, unfortunately, they had a really solid first half, but it spiraled out of control in that second half.
I mean, this has been Apex's biggest issue since history, is more so the fact is the defense always looks good. The defense looks solid, it's clean, they're working together, but the biggest issue always stems from when they are attacking. Once a team figures out what they're trying to do, what their initial goal is, they always meet brick walls because they don't know how to adapt, and it's been a constant theme through and through with every single game that we see from Apex roster.
I love the way you put it. They meet brick walls, and their solution is to go through it. And on a defense, sometimes you can slam yourself to a wall and find some success. They're able to outgun their way out of some problems. They're able to win that opening gunfight, put themselves in the best position to win. But when it comes to them attacking, it's a different story, especially on a map like Lair. We highlighted it's very claustrophobic, very small. There's not really many opportunities for you to go around the problem. You have to find ways to solve it head on. And I just don't think Cyclops' prowess when it comes to utility was on par. In the ways that they were able to beat Furia, where they were out shooting them, it looked like Furia and it felt defeated. But FaZe doesn't have that mentality problem. They don't give up. They keep putting that constant wall, and that's what we saw. On defense, they would just slow them out. They would lose their oxygen. They wouldn't have enough, air in the tank, and then that was it.
And as I said, Furia and FaZe are two different types of play styles.
Yeah.
FaZe is going to force you to play their game of Siege, and that's exactly what we saw once that side swap happened.
So one thing that, I don't know whether maybe I'm just looking into it too much, maybe I was enjoying my time too much behind the scenes with you two, but it felt like a slip and slide. It felt all too easy for FaZe. What does CAG have to do here? Like, how do they change this up? I know adapting is a simple one.
I'll let Fox take it as an IGL.
I wouldn't say it was too easy for FaZe. I do think Cyclops came out the gate swinging. I mean, there was a moment where they were up, 3-1. And then FaZe brought it back. So I do think Cyclops has the gunfight ability. Obviously, we saw it when they were on their defense. I think the map takes into a big play just because of how Lair is. So we see people using the verticality. Cyclops isn't at that level yet. They're just trying to shoot head on, and they're just getting stopped every single time.
Well, they're definitely going to have to change things up because it's going to become even more competitive. FaZe are but one series away from closing this out, and the night too. We'll be back after this.
Tap, yeah, I want that. No lines, I don't cut back. Sweet, salty, and all that. Let loose, come get that. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel that? Ooh, you feel that? Ooh, the real back. Ooh, I'm still that. Ooh, you catch that? Ooh, I guess that. The best back. Yeah, yeah. 30,000 up on my pallet. Might jump out if I'm wildin'. Catch my flow, I'm so stylish. Tap, tap, real smooth. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go.
FaZe have now backed themselves into a fantastic position. They are 1-0 up in the series, and they are looking as confident as ever. We now go to Border. Does this now potentially change the conversation where you were saying Lair can kind of be a little bit more of a hindrance if you're trying to meet a brick wall, you don't have many outs? Does Border give you a little bit more leniency if you're CAG?
It does. I mean, we just highlighted that Cyclops' problem solving doesn't work on a map like Lair, but on a map like Border, it's the most aggressive map that you could probably play. It's all about your attacks. It's all about being aggressive. Even on defense, you have to be so proactive for going for these gunfights, and it's split up all around the map. So I hope Cyclops doesn't change their ideology right now, because I really do think they'll hit the nail on the head here going into Border. FaZe is going to be the team that just has to slow it down. They can't let that overwhelm them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing for me with CAG is you're going to be met with a force right out the gates. The second you try entering in that building, you're going to need to be taking top east. You're going to need to be taking CCTV, break room, even dome. These are going to be heavily contested areas, and you need to be winning these gunfights, which it goes to show they can win gunfights. But the biggest factor for me is how are they going to get into the building and try to take these power positions away from FaZe?
I've got to ask you the question here. How confident are you that CAG can actually bring this back? Because it does feel as though the second half of that map really left a bit of a sour taste.
The mentality of it could just be that Cyclops loses that confidence that they built up from going against Furia. If there's a place for them to start, it will be Border. Bank is a good middle ground. I think either way, if we do go to a map 3, FaZe is going to fight tooth and nail every step of the way. They're in a great spot here, and every game, it's not an easy game. They earn that top spot in groups most of the time. I don't see this being any different.
I mean, for me, as much as, like I said, as much as I want to have faith in CAG, I just can't see that getting done because, again, FaZe is not Furia. FaZe is setting the tempo. FaZe is going to force you to play their game of Siege, and if you can't quickly identify what's happening within these rounds and moving key players into key positions and taking these power positions, you are going to fall flat on your face and in the rest of the series.
Well, there is a horrible prospect that CAG does face, but we've seen them
Prove me wrong.
Some crazy... I'd want them to prove all of us wrong. It's time for us to get underway. Let's head to Border.
Thank you very much, Rob. I thought I was going to get something from you very special. You did kind of just leave me hanging there because over in the hallway before he's like, oh, I've got something very special I'm going to throw to you. What was that? Threw me off completely. I was like, well, that's it? We're just going to Border?
I expected insults. I expected... Maybe he's kind.
Like an overlay?
You know,
like Parker gets a full-blown like character overlay.
Yeah, what the
I get nothing.
Wow. Yeah, hang on. They got animated characters on
they didn't even
screen.
know.
There was whole pre-written bits.
Well, we head to Border for CAG's map pick of this series. They find themselves 1-0 down after losing on Lair.
They do.
Statistic though here, Emmy. Border is not really a good map for CAG. In fact, you could go as far to say it's arguably their worst map. It's their lowest round win percentage. It is the lowest map and the lowest attacker win percentage, which is on Border. It doesn't bode too well, especially going up against the Juggernaut in FaZe Clan. So I'm not holding out too much hope for CAG, even though this is technically their map pick. Ultimately, it's going to be a very difficult ask, and a lot of it's probably going to come down to this first half because of that statistic I mentioned. 38% attacker win rate on this map for CAG, and you're going up against FaZe? Good luck.
Then I guess I posit to you the question, what'd you think?
They picked it?
Yeah.
Well, if you go over towards FaZe's particular stats on Border, guess what? What are the stats?
Probably not good.
It's a hard ban. They don't play it.
Hard ban.
So
well, there you go.
It's one of those interesting situations where when teams, of course, do their map videos, it's like, do we go for our strength or do we go for their weakness? In this instance, this is not CAG's strength, but it is technically a weakness of FaZe. But in that instance, the stats I've provided to you, even though it is a hard ban for FaZe, you're probably still going to back them in simply based on the fact that CAG aren't necessarily a Border team.
Now, some of the things that might bring it together that concern me a little bit is how they were actually playing the map before. Look towards FaZe's defense. they were so aggressive, so active. They were the ones that were eventually throwing themselves outside the building, looking for these peaks multiple times, multiple different members, especially Cyber, who was just tearing through pretty much any section of the map that he wanted. That is a style of play that Border really appreciates, really vibrates and resonates with. And I mean, if they continue that level of performance, especially here, going straight back into their defense after playing a flawless defense on the side of Lair, well, they might quickly start ramping up a divide here where CAG will struggle to get themselves even into the map, let alone into the map. But who knows? It's all sort of up in the air until we start to land down here, and, well, you find yourself with a dock on the side of Cyber. Not the most common operator nowadays, the dock.
Well, yeah, as I said before, first half CAG is going to really tell us the story here. They need to get attacking rounds on the board early, which is, again, something that isn't quite often the case when it comes to CAG on this map. FaZe is difficult to kind of understand because we don't typically see it. Hardband for them, the other map being Chalet that we don't typically see from FaZe. So we actually do get to see if FaZe have been workshopping Border, if they can actually add this into their map pool, a map that they don't typically allow teams to play against them. So it's a good opportunity for them to just kind of flex their muscles, get a bit of a breather here on Border later in the tournament. If they get to best of fives, this could be one that they might feel more comfortable on because of a game such as this. FaZe defending. They won the first map on Lair 7-4, very comfortable, but it did begin with CAG going up 4-2. Blackberry, though, well, he might just be meeting his demise a little early as he will get picked up, though, I imagine. It does mean the ace is out of action for the time being.
Well, it's not the start that you really want. As to that point, you'll get yourself sort of proposed in on the position. There's, again, this aggression outside the building. Handy trying to lean themselves in. As I said, Border is one of those maps where if you're not inside, well, you're still in line for a firefight. Proven there. Handy tears through Shurip's head, and I mean, he's just kind of driving himself up and in every single position. Seems like one that they're trying to aggressively lean in. The sense turning on the gadget, but the light wall isn't going to at least slow down anything here. Good watch on towards Soul, sorted out inside seating and left not entirely for dead. Chibisu wanted to try and find a way in, did suffer a bit of a scrape, but can they get round to Souls? It's probably a bit dangerous for them, and they're not going to opt for it because there is only a minute 10. Chibisu moves in towards the stairs. That'll be the execution of the player, but there might be a response here, although they're well aware of it.
A slight advantage for CAG. It is very slight because Blackberry on a lick of health. Heading into the final minute, and Vidaking gets aggressive, finds the kill on to Blackberry. Didn't need much. So makes it that 3 versus 3. That's still a gun down, though. Even though Blackberry was low on health, he still had an opportunity to be impactful for the latter stages of this round. A great swing, in fact, as well from KDS. Handy, though, losing his life to Shirineko. Of course, Anaton down from that swing that we just saw from KDS, but he will get brought back up. That is the diffuser as well. That will be momentarily on the floor. Acquired once again by Anaton, and now they have to make their way towards the site into the final 20 seconds. And look how low these two are as well.
It really makes this swing a risk. It just takes a fraction and not quite that, to be honest. There's still another goo mine in foot, but Anaton tears through Vidaking in a bit of a rough position. He's being surrounded. The body on Beep is the first and the second. Oh, there was a second and a team kill amongst that. It was a team. It was a 1 versus 1 at the end because he killed the man on the other side. The planter came round. That could have been the biggest throw of the tournament so far. It isn't.
No, it's not. It doesn't really matter. But it was a little bit scrappy, wasn't it? A very dicey round from both teams to begin on Border, but it is an attacking round win for CAG. That's the start they would have wanted. I mean, I don't know what Sharif's really doing there. Just far too casual walking up. And Handy was just comfortably waiting, but it was that middle portion of the round, Emmy. Losing Cyber, losing Souls that quickly, that early, especially your smoke, really it doesn't help out for the latter stages of the round. But yeah, this is the moment at the end where things just get a little bit strange. Shirineko takes out Chibisu at the back accidentally.
He downed him and then finished him as well.
But hey, you know, casualties of war.
The accidents happen. If you win the round, it's just a workplace accident.
Exactly.
If you lose the round, it's the debrief later on.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that. I mean, CAG pulled it together, and as you said, I think there was, you know, there was mistakes from both sides. Nothing was entirely clean. Border is a map that really punishes mistakes because everything is quite in the open. There's not a lot of solid ground on this map itself to sort of separate you. It's one of the only ones where you can kind of shoot from one corner of the building over through to the other through the soft walls that are offered if they're still, you know, sort of soft by the end of it. And that's something that kind of punished both teams. The sort of cavalier attitude of moving against each other, I think, is going to take a couple of rounds to maybe get us to the level of intensity we had.
I think the other thing is as well, a reminder, these are two teams that don't necessarily play this map that often, right? So you're going to get rounds such as that. I don't think this is going to be the kind of border that you put in the archives and say this is a classic.
Well, you're speaking early, my friend.
I am speaking early.
This might be the best
It could be a
border.
classic, but maybe for all of the wrong reasons.
We could see, sometimes you need outside the box thinkers.
Yeah, good
right?
drone here.
Well, the Blackbeard, who is a hugely popular operator this tournament, hasn't really been the biggest swing for Anaton, and, well, they go right against it. There is some danger coming in from behind him on the side of break, but he still wins out against Anaton.
Anaton didn't need to pull the gun out. He did not need to pull the gun out.
Jimsu almost got caught there as well on the fade through, but you're entirely right. Anaton, he just got a bit too eager. He's a fantastic shield player, but that wasn't a demonstration of it. What was that? He wanted to get rid of the hacked Banshee, but just kind of revealed where he was. Is he easier to get up? They have the drone intel, so Souls is going into known territory. KDS does get Black Ray at the same time. They lose the drone, so it's no longer being watched, but you might just try and finish them off through the soft, opens up the angle, the pings on the players, he's down below, he's very much in a no man's land position here, but they don't want to go for the risk. Everybody's suffering a little bit. It's a technical 3 versus 3, and they're almost using him in the end of a long string, waiting to reel a CAG player in. Imagine just watching your friend bleed out. Nothing could be done.
That's all right. There's a broom there. You can clean it up very quickly afterwards when the round is won. Souls with a big kill onto Sharif. Top waiting now for Chibisu. Final logic bomb is ringing out. He loses his life to Souls. Coming down bottom, he stares at Shirineko and it makes it a 1 versus 2. But the time, pretty big factor. Doesn't have the diffuser. Would take something very special right now for Shirineko to clutch this round. Diffuser up above. At this point, he might just be best going for the 2 kills.
I mean, he's trying to spray through and get the angle. There's 20 seconds. One close on the vending machine who's offering little moments of a fight. The reload will be very loud. They just need to play on contact here. And they're trying to bait him into it. There's the first. There's not the second, though. They did play on contact. It was entirely the right decision to move when he did. He made sure that there was a second point to that fight. Because if he was a step slower, he would have been already ready and aimed in the right position. FaZe pull it back, but I mean, it was technically a 3 versus 1 to a 1 versus 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's the similarities to the opening round where there's that scrappiness element. It's going to be there. I mean, at this point, the reason why Anaton doesn't need to pull the gun up, and it's because of the fact that you've got Chibisu over towards top metal stairs. So you should be communicating that as a team. Yeah. It's like, hey, you don't need to pull the gun out. I'm going to kill him from behind because you've got the shield up. You're pushing him back through security. But at that moment in time, I don't know if the communication's fully there. Anaton thinks he has to pull the gun out, loses his life. If he doesn't do that, CAG maybe then have enough of that firepower later in the rest of the round to get the job done. But credit to FaZe, they hold on, job done, 1-1, and it's going to be just have that feeling, that back and forth scrappiness between the two teams. Who can make the least errors? I mean, I know that's very simplistic, but on a map like this, you said it before, those errors are going to be punished every single time, tenfold compared to maybe even some of the other maps. So you've just got to reduce those mistakes as much as possible.
The last 2 rounds have both ended in 1 versus 3s. CAG has gotten most of the kills, even though one of them was a team kill and they were the 3 side. We'll gloss over that. We'll gloss over that. Instead, it's sort of the situation where, as you know,
1v3s down to 1v1s.
1v3s went down to 1v1s. It's scrappy. It's teething issues. Neither of them, as you pointed out before, have the greatest hold on the map, let alone how each other really wants to play it, and that's what CAG is banking on. So they have to make sure that when these moments are kicking up, they're the ones that are sort of getting the upper hand on it, getting the lock in. They're getting some decent positionings here.
Yeah, and speaking of upper hands as well, 2 rounds in, 2 opening kills for FaZe on the defensive border. That's always going to be, well, handy for the defense when if you lose one early for the defenders on border, the attackers can just get so much free map control. It becomes really easy for the attacking teams.
Ooh. First camera messed up a little bit onto the barricade.
That's all right. You got plenty of those now on the 0.
Yeah, second one, well, that's the barricade cam because the other one got shot out. They know about the frost mat underneath as we've returned our way towards Armory, the site that they lost before. Slight tweaks in the hold itself from the side here of FaZe, because last time we sort of, you know, had comments about how some of the early deaths occurred, where the players were when they were taken out. This time they're not really offering the same. The change on towards the frost. Obviously, they've juggled around a couple of the others, but they just want to make sure that there's something that punishes CAG without them needing to be so close towards the fight.
Cyber towards security. So Armory and Archives in this 3rd round. Last time out, FaZe did lose it to CAG, especially in the middle portion. So it was around this point in time. The Blitz makes the entry. Cyber on a bit of an island, to be honest, doesn't have a lot of help to back him up here for this fight. Sharif already finding one onto KDS. They've also lost the Warden in Vidaking. Then in from behind, full 90 control. They take security and they absolutely clean house. This is flawless from CAG in the 3rd round. And again on one of the primary sites, defensively for FaZe, they're going to let themselves go. A second time that CAG has taken Armory and Archives here on border. And Sharif's got water all over his face.
I mean, flawless. Brilliant, brilliant.
That's the only mistake they made all round. Just couldn't quite drink it properly.
They were close to a mistake with the Blitz. You see them pulling out the gun and being the 1 versus 1. He's itching to take it. He loves those engagements, Anaton. He's a man who, if he has a shield, he wants to kill people whilst having a shield. And, you know, again, there was one of the fights, one of the moments where it almost clipped away from him. There was pistols popping, but the support came from behind. There was also some support making its way over to the window. And thankfully for CAG, they won their engagements elsewhere as well. So they were able to have this body advantage. It wasn't so necessary for Anaton to sort of drop the shield, pull out the pistol, and try and pop the head of the player in the corner. But from 2 very scrappy round wins to a flawless by sort of detail, but a flawless in design as well. It was so quick and clean. You went from nothing to 3 people dead within the space of about 5-10 seconds. The deployment of the smoke canister, the play on the back of it as well to separate the intel. Very, very nice take there from CAG.
Will there be a response from FaZe? We head to Vet Workshop for the 4th round. New site. KDS on the Oryx. Just kind of indicating, especially top floor, being a bit of a hold right now with Vidaking handy accompanying him, that they want to kind of stretch out CAG, force them to go for the full map clear. East Airs hold by Souls. Early gas babe. So again, looking to deny, but he just walked straight through it. Instead of being forced back, Souls had no idea that Sharif just elected to go straight through the smoke. Finds the kill, gets rid of Cyber as well. A tremendous solo push from Sharif on the Ash. He's got that license. 5v3 now for CAG into the 4th round.
Fiery shots down all the way past seeding. I mean, brilliant, brilliant take and aggression there. Cyber and Souls both gone the smoke. Very early removal. Now no counterplay from underneath. If they wanted to utilize the Solace to control some of the intel, some of the drive here, they have this man advantage. I said they were brilliant at pushing and sort of pressuring with it before. They've shepherded the players, and all of them are in this vertical hold situation. But as I said, the Solace is that sort of key perfect piece to try and deny this from above. You go in very aggressive there, and all right, I understand the risk. You're a great gunner, you want to try and level things up, but it brings similarities to how we saw the first map open, where FaZe were sort of just throwing themselves into the gun skill fights. They can do it, as just demonstrated, but it still has been a little bit needless at the risk at points. There's one caught. Vidaking was being watched. The plant is being attempted, but actually Anaton pulls off, relocates. There's a fight on the hatch, though. CAG, second round in a row, third, to put them slowly further and further up.
Yeah, impressive so far from CAG, but you probably, off the back of Lair, can't get too excited because they had a similar start on Lair, if you recall.
They did.
4-2 in the first half, but yet FaZe feel like they've seen enough. They call a tactical timeout with 2 rounds remaining in the first half. They feel like it's critical that they don't allow CAG to get out to a hefty lead. And I think also just the way that they're playing, sometimes it's even irrelevant to what your opponent is doing. It's sort of like, hey, we're not playing well here. Let's talk things over. And, I think for FaZe, this has not been a good showing at all on Border and probably a good explanation as to why this is a hard ban for them.
I mean, 100%, right? You sometimes learn lessons when maps get demonstrated, and maybe they wanted to see if they could try and play this game out early. It's the sort of quote where if you're going to lose, you're going to lose in groups. And if you're putting your pressure onto it, maybe against a team that you don't deem as one of your biggest threats. That's down to each team to work out.
It's more point. If CAG win this map, it's another point to the tally.
It is.
Them after already beating Furia yesterday. And in this group of death, points are going to be hard to come by. And this is a good replay showing Shareep not just feeling that pressure at all from the smoke and just thought, hey, he's thrown that gas babe. And, when you're playing that smoke and you throw that out, you almost feel that sense of security. And I think in that moment, Souls kind of looks away. He feels like, okay, I've thrown that out. It's going to force him back. And next thing you know is, wow, he actually just pushed me. Gets that kill. And then that opens up the ability to push bot East stairs and find another one as well. So, yeah, 3-1 lead for CAG. This does feel a little bit different, though, to Lair, where for me, it's more the fact that FaZe just don't look that great here on Border, right? Whereas it felt like on Lair, once they would get to defense, they would be okay, and that ended up being the case. They're going to win 5 rounds in a row, clean house. I'm not too sure how FaZe is going to go on the attack either here on Border. They've looked really out of sync, all over the place, and coming out of this tactical timeout, this makes this 5th round oh so important.
I mean, on Lair, obviously, very different map. They're only able to get 2 of their sort of attacks across it, and they opted to start on their defense here on Border. Now, Border can work well and be manipulated well by attack teams that drive plays, drive plants. There's some that are sort of pockety plays. There's some that are developed. But at the same time, it's not how they wanted this to go. What's the most giving sign of that? Oh, how about the fact they just called their tack timeout? Something we never saw even when they started to drift into the 2-4 situation. Now, they could pull this one back to an even half, but, well, apparently for them, that is part of their win condition. They're realizing too many of these rounds are drifting away and they want to break that momentum.
Yeah, and look, small sample sizes. We're at the conclusion of day 2, but Border is the most attacker-sided map at the tournament so far. Again, if you want to just kind of put little asterisks towards what's happening at the moment and not get ultimately too carried away. So there is still going to be a really good opportunity for FaZe in that second half when they do get to the attack. So that's actually kind of why I don't mind that timeout right now that has been taken for FaZe. As long as they can back it up and find success in this 5th round, then I think it will actually be worth it.
You are saying tell people to not get too carried away. You realize you're talking to CAG fans. Getting carried away when success starts to come is a major part of being a CAG fan. 3-1. FaZe. What was the team talk and how was it manipulated? The play on the space here. Obviously, they've gone themselves back towards Bathroom, the only site that they've had the success on before, and it's actually the first that falls on the side of CAG, but got back up. Pure and Echo can try and cause more problems as they actually drop to fight the hatch. There's bandit tricking going on, a very active refusal to give up hard territory, and this is, I guess, the change. Instead of finding themselves funneled in these long-range firefights, they're bandit tricking in the middle of Border on Fountain whilst holding Bathroom. It's not the most common scene played, but it's working.
Well, you want to have that top floor control. You don't want to allow CAG to get themselves into that position over towards officers, because then otherwise it's going to be far more easier for them to get the plant, play the hatch. So FaZe are putting all their eggs into that top floor hold. And so far, I think it's working. The question's going to be onto Anaton on this Montang. He's got the diffuser. Well, there you go. There's your answer. Dead immediately, and they've still got hatch control, courtesy of Handy. It is a 3 versus 3 with 30 seconds left. Shirineko gets rid of Handy, and just like that, the plant can go down for CAG, but KDS retakes up above and stops the plant. Double kill from KDS and makes that 3! Saves the round for FaZe and goes a long way to potentially saving the map. A lot of siege still to play here, but that is a huge moment.
I mean, it shows the power of that position, right? It shows how impactful that single hatch would be. They won the first engagement. Okay, no, they lost the first engagement because it was Anaton swinging with the shield, with the pistol out, trying to find the kill. The second engagement was won, and then they started to go for the plant, stuck it a bit longer and later at that sort of moment there, and credit to FaZe setting up, but also, you know, CAG, they lost the first two bodies. They're able to bite their way back in and find the operation here inside. Great movement from KDS. Huge round, 3-2.
I mean, it's a prime example as to why, you know, they're bandit tricking. They want top floor. They want to keep officers and fountain. That is the example reason shown. Keep that hatch control, very difficult to plant inside a bathroom. So they do get the round win. Emmy, out of the tactical timeout, ends up paying dividends. And look, 2 defensive rounds on border might be a pass mark. And yet they've also still got an opportunity to find a third one here. The final round of the opening half of border underway. CAG desperately looking for that 4th attacking round.
At this point,
it's the dreaded Armory and Archives.
I mean, that's it, right? We're back here. And all right, one of them became a 1 versus 1. It was a 3 versus 1. The other one was a flawless. So this is going to be the toughest sort of tell and sell as to how they're going to change things up. They've opted for less sort of lockdown here. The castle isn't on the board this time round, although it's not, you know, always been a continued part. It was tried and tested and realized they really didn't like it, so they've gone back to the arena gates instead. You can see CAG, they're just trying to find this soft route in. I'm wondering how aggressively they're going to hold on towards the eastern stairs. It's been a little bit of a back and forth point before, but so far CAG's been very clean and clear in taking the control of it, even when the bodies are at a disadvantage. There's some of the break on towards Passport, the removal of the barb on the main stairs themselves. But FaZe, they're playing a bit more reserved again. Lessons learned from the timeout, they're not giving CAG the fights that CAG is trying to want to take.
No, not necessarily, but you still got to play like Sol's playing East Stairs position. He's just playing a bit more further up where he can at least get some look in towards the corridor down towards 90, and he's not on the halfway point of the stairs because he knows that they want passport control. And he also knows that if he does play that stair position, he's a bit more prone to being pushed. We saw that from Sharif earlier in the half. So he's changed things up. Good tweaking from FaZe on this side. They've already had 2 opportunities on it, so a third time around may be the charm. The flash is successful onto Cyber, but there's no follow-up. So it ends up being a bit of a waste of utility. Nothing gained from that at all for CAG.
Flashes start to come over the top, and KDS is still on the sort of run he was on before we got into this round. Jibasu is removed. Twitch is gone. The player who's been able to have some big moments and big bites back into certain positions is currently out of position.
There's no good map control.
No.
With 40 seconds remaining, a top floor Armory and Archives, you haven't got anything towards East Stairs, nothing towards the office side of the map. You haven't got security. Cyber's still in there. So what do you have right now for CAG in terms of a win condition? Not a lot.
Apparently AC. They're going to set themselves in. They're covering on the plant. They're hoping they're not caught by the smoke, and they're not caught by the smoke.
Oh,
where's the Solace to operate? They're watching the back. There's a plant that's been pulled off, and they find the smoke on the way out the door, but they survive. Vidaking, too little, too late, and he's got to try and operate and remove the player with Cyber offering some shoulder of support. How much time can Black Gray buy? There's one, and there's a bit of motion as they swing. He's doing the right decisions, but he just almost gets the Solace, but no, caught out 20 seconds. 7 of that has to be the defuse here. They're waiting for the cover, the jump out. There's the play against the window itself. They're going to throw themselves on sandwich. The smoke is shot out. They can't quite get it as close as it wants to be. The shotgun as Styraneko gets one. It's just getting air, just getting missed moments. There's the play on the diffuser. The players have to operate, and they do. CAG just through all of the chaos. Shuri is able to find a player. And I mean, the 4-2 half here once again. It wasn't enough on the previous map, but the difference is this is their place to play. They still have their timeout, and they now have to put the pressure on to FaZe, who have to attack this border.
Yeah, huge props to CAG. because that round was not going their way whatsoever. They got pushed out of security. Cyber had that lockdown, KDS as well in the hallway. We saw Souls controlling E stairs, so CAG had to go the unconventional route, which is just to rush in towards Archives, go for the plant down inside of the smoke, and where was the response from FaZe? Not to be found at all. They didn't have any Nitro cells. There was a gas babe, sure, but Souls wasn't playing to deny Archives. He was over towards E stairs. He was never going to get there in time, and he only had one anyway. So for CAG to be able to adapt and realize their last win con was all they could go for, they executed it really quickly and really nicely. There was no real mistakes. If anything, FaZe should have just been able to throw bodies at least at that point in the round and say, let's just deny the plant, even if we lose a couple of players. And as soon as that plant is successful, anytime it goes into Archives, even if you got numbers, it's always going to be very difficult to get that retake. And FaZe probably just needed someone to be a little bit selfless and actually throw their body out to block that window, because there was a moment, I think it might have been Handy, who just takes the shot with the shotgun, misses the shot, and then falls back. And in that moment, CAG then get the kill onto the counter diffuser, and the round's basically done.
I think the big sort of question mark I have is what FaZe believed was happening compared to what happened, because let's be real, you're at the man disadvantage, and they have a solace, especially on this side, with, you know, the most rehearsed plant spot possible on border, and then not in the position towards deny it. So they obviously thought that CAG were trying to cook something elsewhere, and let's be honest, it's one of those times where things just sort of work out. Talking about it being the most default plant spot, this is one of the ways of getting it locked in. The Oster wants to try and just get a step in. They want to bait the utility, but they get Souls first. Shiraneko gets the opening kill. The Capital Fly forces the player out, but the C4 does land. Gets rid of one of the Oster talent shields. Now they have one more, but they also have one more C4. They're waiting for the deploy, and if they're able to catch this second shield with it, which they opt for the fight instead. What is going on? There's the player, the C4. They know it's another win condition. Shiraneko gets the cross out. Chibasu finds KDS. And this is a focused denial on a focused take. Look underneath. You have a player ready with a shotgun. Look to Armory. You have the player ready with the lined up C4s. And look over the top of the computers. It has just been a full lockdown. Vidiking gets one to at least stop Anaton, but there's the pain from the player underneath the position before a Shuri. Just sidestepping and hunting with a shotgun. You know, that's a great refusal to stop that plant.
Yeah, I think FaZe would be very disappointed so far on board. Whether or not they've put the work in behind the scenes, we're not privy to that information, so we don't know. But clearly more work is required, because this has not been a good border at all from FaZe, and teams are going to know that this is going to be an insta-ban for them, weakens their map pool a little bit. CAG is just running rampant, and all of it begins because they got the confidence. Shiraneko's playing really well, gets himself to double digits with that initial kill, follows up with a second. They're the ones that are just moving around the map on defense, and they look like they've got a better understanding of border than FaZe, which is just staggering.
It's a perfect comparison, because that Shiraneko position inside CC, how many times did we see CAG just focus remove the player from that position? It was Cyber playing there, it was Shields coming in, they had multiple bodies, clearing them out, and then they would move on to other objectives. You know, and there, the fact that he's able to freely run outside on towards the walkway.
Well, I thought you were gonna sort of touch on what we saw there from Shiraneko. It's not really what we saw from FaZe on their defense.
Yeah,
right? There was more the sit back on site, and as you said, then CAG would kind of like try and push them out, etc. It shows the different level of tempo, and CAG immediately on the first round of defense on border are like, we're going to abuse border. It's border. Let's get aggressive. Let's move around. Let's go for run out. Like, you know, and we didn't see that from FaZe. 5-2 lead, and every chance that we may end up getting to bank.
I actually said it as well at the start of this map, is if FaZe played this how they played Lair, it would be a quick one, because they were running outside the building. They were doing these plays, and yet they aren't. They've been much more sort of timid, much more internal. They're not really exploring the outside of the map the same way that they did on Lair itself, where all of them were outside the building. They were sort of taking the picks on the doors. They're running to the walkways. And as you said, you know, they're CAG are playing border as border loves to be played. 5-2 up. Again, no timeout left for FaZe. Anaton does suffer a bit of damage as KDS clears their way past Vent in towards the workshop. Now they have the cross angle on the catch ready if Anaton is slowly being circled. And there it is. Great bait and play there from the side, and they have the man advantage. It's not always been a win condition for FaZe in this map, but it is a good start.
Yeah. I mean, they just need to take this sort of round by round at the moment for FaZe. This is not, you know, a position that's going to be too difficult for them to get back into. They're such a high quality team that if you can just get under the skin of CAG a little bit on the attack, especially on border, which is possible, yeah, there's every world in which they can claw this deficit back. 90 seconds, one player advantage. Make that two with Chubasu losing his life. Still had a nitro cell in the back pocket as well, so never even got to use that one. Jirenaka does get rid of handy, so alleviates a little bit of that pressure that was certainly building by FaZe. Vulcan Canister's going to get popped at a pretty decent point in the round. And Sharif's then gets rid of souls. Anytime it seems like maybe FaZe is starting to get involved in these rounds, CAG just always have some kind of answer. 1-for-1 trade keeps this all evened up, but with Sharif's death to Vidiking, who don't gets a double kill, it gives FaZe a 2-on-1 advantage. Blackray by himself.
Oh, and there it is, the lockdown. And I mean, Vidiking, I think he got the down on the early player as well. He truly just put FaZe on his back that round and carried them through it. They pulled one together, but again, it was far from clean. It was
well, it goes back to like the first two rounds of this map, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always sort of look at the measurements of it. It's nothing that FaZe will be happy with. It's a round win, and that's great.
I don't think they'll care at the moment. I mean, right now they're 5-2 down. They don't care whether it's clean, whether it's sloppy. They just want to win the round and kind of have to force that. I thought when Sharif got that particular kill that CAG might be able to just withstand the attack from FaZe, but you kind of mentioned that Vidiking just puts the team on the back, gets a couple of kills towards the end.
They also got the down on Shibasu, and I'm not entirely sure where that even came from. You could see them trying to run the numbers for a long time, and then he suddenly goes down from an angle that wasn't the one we saw on Workshop. But again, you know, that's these moments. And it was, I will say, from the side of FaZe, a great opening take on towards Anaton as well, around the sort of beeper side and tension, forced him out, already had the players ready to catch on Passport, and with a cross angle from Workshop. But again, you know, far from over. CAG, they'll have the chance to return to other sites they found success with before, but if they can make one more stick, then it gives them, what, 3 chances.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? One more round, you get overtime guaranteed at a minimum, so FaZe still have to be pretty flawless, which what we've seen from Border and them so far, they haven't really been flawless really all that often. They're making mistakes, and so CAG, I still think are in a tremendous position. They've just got to make sure they lock in, keep their focus. You're on defense, wait for FaZe to make a mistake. They might over-peak, they might get over-aggressive. You know, if CAG can find the opening pick, then FaZe will start to get antsy and try and find that response. Bring the Blackbeard here on to Cyber. Like the Grim here as well too for Vidiking. Try and get some information, flush out some of these positions, especially up above in this second floor, the holdover towards Armory and Archives.
Trying to just get this first lead, this first shepherded bit of space. The Nomad, the air jabs to control, the Blackbeard getting the angles. All it is giving less and less room for CAG to play, to manipulate themselves in. And it gives FaZe safety. It lets them step into these ground, remove it. They're isolating it section by section. The play with the Brava, getting rid of utility as well, just getting it off the board. It keeps things into a gunfight situation, which is one that FaZe is more than happy to roll with. Look at this stack. Heavy on the control on East Stairs. The only one not really close by currently is KDS, but you can see he's making his way up towards the watch on the Armory Archives door itself for the long fight. They're going for this verticality. A minute 20, they do still have a fair section of time in, but at what point they're going to try and turn this into an execution onto side. A Blackbeard's a perfect guy to do it, but it's Vidiking still getting these opening engagements, getting this drive, and now for CAG, you worry the pressure's about to come over the top.
There's not a lot of site pressure at all, except for the extension up above on the vert for CAG. The actual site itself pretty much open. Anaton sitting over towards Bathroom, trying to just see if he can find an angle in towards Workshop. Vidiking loses his life. And KDS gets rid of Blackray. Once again, though, FaZe have got themselves up into a position where they've got the numbers to be able to go and hit that site, along with clearing up above. Anaton dead, and with that, FaZe can double down their advantage. Well, this is looking like the FaZe that we know in the 8th round, now into the 9th round. They're starting to make their mark on border. Good kill from Chipasu, but he's so low on health and still has 3 targets to deal with and still 20 seconds that he has to wait out. KDS will put an end to him and any kind of chance in the round for CAG. 2 in a row for FaZe, and here they come.
I mean, again, that is the FaZe we're used to. It's the FaZe we expect. It was systematic. Every single position was one that they made sure that there were checks and balances done on it. They weren't getting themselves too lost in the time of the approach, but as I said before, even the clear and the utility was covered, was played, was practiced. The take on the players, sure, they win out this engagement, but there's a threat coming from above, there's the cover on the door of the site itself. It was just cutting off any areas, any avenues of escape that CAG thought that they could have, and ultimately coiling around them like an anaconda until there was no life left. 5-4, and CAG do not opt to take their time out. They're risking the roll of the dice to get themselves towards map point instead of having the conversation. Is it the right decision?
I think it's fine. You've got one more round, what I would consider a buffer, because you're up 5-4. So if you lose this one, then it's 5-5. Then you take the time out. So probably not in that desperate position. You're not playing from behind. You're still leading. Armory and Archives. It's been a strange old site in this match. Usually it's one of the somewhat safer sites when it comes to the defense on border, where of course everything's just all about the attack, but
currently 100% CAG this match.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a positive for CAG. They've won it on the attack twice, then of course then won it on the defense. So they won it 3 times on the attack.
They got themselves stuck in. They even found a plant in the final one with the man disadvantage. But FaZe, it's almost like they're playing with an extra man currently, and how do you stop it? Well, CAG, you kind of lean into the chaos that we complimented you on before. There's no real stepping back up. FaZe are taking it. Don't get me wrong, they're not being given the time to set themselves up, but if you can find a way to just sort of knock that cart a little, make it a little bit wobbly, maybe you can find an opportunity on the back end of it. Eastairs under a lot of pressure. They know he's there. There's a player coming from underneath as well. There's the spray up towards them. KDS, he's trying to get the end of it. The smoke canister will buy him a second, but a shield is about to find its way through. The second will force the Monty further and further away. But at this point, the player here, Shurip, he has to try and fight his way out. He's underneath the opening on the barricade. They know he's there. They might still have a drone with some of the intel. We saw them droning it before. They might give another bit extra. Black Ray is trying to offer some support, but he starts suffering. There's another throw for the canister. The fire isn't quite going to catch him. He's wasting a lot of time here, though, Xenox.
He is, because they're trying to kill him. And they're therefore not getting any other map control. KDS is just kind of lingering around towers. We saw the Vault come out as well. They feel like this could be a kill, but I love the fact that Black Ray has come to help. Saves the day, gets the headshot kill onto Cyber. Vida made the push in. He's down as well. Not quite out. Now he is confirmed by Shurip and Shirineko finding those 2 kills. CAG now in the best position possible to secure match point, to go 6-4 up against FaZe and be in a position to take a map against them. KDS makes his way up, goes for the knife, gets the kill onto Shurip, and keeps hope alive for FaZe as KDS and Handy, the duo with 50 seconds, look to try and salvage this round for FaZe Clan.
Correct decision there, Shirineko. Do not give them the fight. If they had got that kill, it would have put it into a very sticky situation of a 2 versus 2 instead. 40 seconds, they still have time to play with. They're being quite aggressive, firing the shots towards, putting the pressure on. You're against KDS, who's 12-6, and Handy, who we've seen have very handy moments. The slow turn with the Tubarao canister, but Tubarao wins it out. Chipasu has the cover, and now it's another fight that's sort of gifted. You didn't need to be there, Shirineko, and with 18 seconds, you know, it's close to the end, but it's not over till it's over. There's another step up. If you pulled the trigger, that would have been a kill, but Anaton puts himself in. That is map point. They find themselves sitting in 2 opportunities to send us into our 3rd.
Yeah, well deserved from CAG. Kumine and Zoto canister on Handy at the end there is just a utility nightmare for him as he tries to, you know, play hero. Now, CAG, I think that this is the moment for me. Black Ray coming to help out top. top waiting because they sensed for a large portion of that round, Sharif's under a lot of pressure. He played it well. You mentioned, of course, how much he was delaying FaZe from doing anything in the round. KDS was just lurking towers, trying to get that free kill. They felt like if they can pressure top east, force him back down towards lobby, maybe KDS can then get that kill on the cross back. You go 5-4 up, you get east stairs. It's a really good plan. It's solid. What they don't anticipate, though, is Black Ray to come in, help out. He gets a free kill. Then the Monty tries to push in as a counter. He goes down as well, and it all falls apart on the attack for FaZe because CAG just didn't buckle under the pressure. Sharif didn't buckle under the pressure. He uses his gas babes well. He doesn't just rush out of east stairs, holds his position, gets some help from his teammate, and that really set them up in the round. 2 match points, 2 opportunities to take a map off of FaZe after yesterday beating Furia, and then coupled with putting themselves into bank, a chance to even take the series. Huge opportunity, not just for CAG, but for all of APAC.
I mean, there's a whole region that's sort of expecting something, right? And what we've had is some struggles elsewhere. There's been some teams that have underperformed, but CAG here, even regardless of how this is going, have played brilliantly against tournament favorites. Credit, especially on this map, to Shiraneko. 15-6 has really been trying to match KDS, who again has been having a brilliant map. Throughout this, the pressure starts to come through, the removal of utilities, again, the compliments played towards FaZe, but I'm curious to see where CAG decide to step that line up to create it and give themselves that furthered 1 step ahead here. The more teams that they can pull points from, the better their chances are. It would, I think, even if they get 1 point from this, they still find themselves in second regardless of what happens. There's always still the possibility of 3 on bank. KDS, as I said before, fantastic map performance throughout this, starts the ideas and eyes on towards Armory. But otherwise, again, CAG not entirely trying to rebuff them as of yet. Anderson's watching up, waiting for somebody to hop in on the opposite side, and I think Handy's aware of it because they're really opting to not take it. The drone does get caught. Heavy Armory presence here.
Yeah, there certainly is for FaZe because they feel like they need to take top floor officers, you know, then play the hatch, but CAG aren't putting bodies there. They're just kind of banking on the reinforced hatch, which has also been electrified. But they've got the Thatcher, so FaZe were going to be able to deal with that pretty easily. 60 seconds left, but they've made their way through archives, bouncing control. They'll open up the hatch. But the issue is the time factor. Like, they still have only just thrown out the EMP grenade now. They're only just opening up the hatch now.
Well,
double kill though from Cyber. Well, that's certainly handy. Over towards Workshop, he finds 2 kills, a third through Souls. Well, forget the time. The time is irrelevant now because FaZe, just in about 15 seconds, go and find 4 kills, and it's about to be 6-5.
They know exactly where Sharif is coming from, and I mean, Cyber is always one of those players that can do that. Activate when they need him the most. How he was able to thread those kills, I'm sure we'll see fully in a second, but you wonder why he was given 3 bodies that quickly. There was obviously the double that came instantly, winning that engagement. Could be one where it's just the right time, right place. Could be one of the toughest ones as CAG call their timeout. In the same sort of moment, right, you're looking at an attempted retake going wrong. And that is the trade on the other side. Sure, they took a lot of time getting themselves set up with that verticality, but it means they're ready on that verticality. They had, very obviously, eyes on those staircases. They won one of the fights. They lost the other one, but it doesn't matter at that point because you've already done the rest of the body work. And it was just an attempt that fully punished, fully read, fully played. Now the timeout. There is the 1 round difference. Obviously, FaZe also get the opportunity to talk with their coach. Will the conversation of either of them net better rewards or not?
Well, CAG have only actually won a single round outside of Armory and Archives. And it's quite telling, probably.
When you put it like that, it sounds negative.
But hey, They've won 5 rounds of Armory Archive.
They're an Armory and Archives team.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
it's locked away, though, for this 12th round. So the timeout is well called. They're going to give this another go and see if they can close this out towards Bathroom. Look, I don't know. I mean, the stats don't lie, Emmy. They've only won a single round outside of a particular site, of which they're not going to be. FaZe may just be in a position where they can get this to overtime.
Do you want to know the flip side of that statistic?
Sure.
Bathroom is 100% FaZe this map.
There you go. This is their side.
Will it be the correct decision? We have seen, to be fair, you know, earlier on, you and I cast the game. There was an 100% statistic that got broken that day.
A little shallow win streak.
What is that anymore?
Nothing.
Don't know.
0-1.
6-5. Who's going to really be the kings of the bathroom? Is it a crown you want? Not when it's phrased like that. But at this point, you'll probably take it. The start comes through. Again, this utility game.
Have they left the hatch open?
This time, yes.
Okay. Well, intriguing strategy from CAG in the way that they kind of want to play this, and Black Grey holding towards lockers means that this could be like a set play call, diving into the strat book. Hey, we want to try this and see if this is going to work, and cause FaZe to be a little bit confused and perplexed. Ooh, Chibisu creeping around bot main. Chibisu, honestly, very fortunate that he's even stayed alive.
100%. I mean, that's the difference of one bullet. One more bullet connecting and he's gone. He's surrounded. The fact that Cyber could crouch himself into that position, yeah, they had some awareness, but you take a risky moment trying to find the fight against a player who is so happy for those engagements. Sometimes he's like, it doesn't really matter what you're stepped up to. ADS does find Black Grey. Could this be the start of what hurtles us?
I think it will. The map is just so open because of the way that CAG are playing this.
At this point, eyes down long towards the top of the stairs. Now they are aggressively above it. The hatch being open does give them the option to try and play against it. The C4 removes the Selmas. It's another way of denying the wall rather than bandit tricking, and that's going to buy them some of this safety. We talked about the importance of that position, but look, they don't really care so much because Cyber is just trying to sort of push his way through. And
with the hatch open, they have the exit strategy too. They haven't left it reinforced. Otherwise, then you're going to have to fight to the death to really keep that second floor position for the defense. So if they do feel like they've wasted enough time, they can fall back, play the hatch. Anderton's also a good savior on the Echo. If he stays alive, the Yokai can be a denial opportunity too.
They've dropped round. They want to try and get rid of Cyber in the cover that's coming from Passport as well. Look how deep he is. All the way through on the cut. KDS gets one on the hop over, but Shureep does at least have some of the coverage. 40 seconds, but all of the CAG players are stuck in what feels like a 5-foot square radius. Anaton chooses the right time to pop over and see KDS, who is looking at the wrong side of a desk. A 3 versus 3. 30 seconds. Still, CAG, a very narrow area they have to play with. It just takes FaZe one little breakthrough, one little kill to start pulling this apart. So can they keep all options covered? The hatch is there. Shureep does get handy. The two players drop in for the side of FaZe. Souls gets one, but Shiraneko gets the other. It's a long fight with 8 seconds. He's sending himself in. Here's Souls, but Anaton secures CAG the map and the point. But it was pressed all the way to the end here on their map of choice. FaZe really started that comeback. It really looked close. Just enough, though. More than enough in this case.
Yeah, I mean, tremendous from CAG to win out here on Border, and it looks like it pays off by taking FaZe to a map that they just don't play all that often, at least over the last 6 months or so. They get themselves another huge map win against one of the top teams at this tournament. They beat Furia yesterday 2-0. Now it's 1-1 against FaZe Clan. Final series of the day will go the distance. A third map is required. Bank after the break.
Back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Back to the back. it back to the realness. Feel this. Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
Not enough credit was given to CAG heading into border. Go back and watch the clips. Re-roll the clips. No, it was very scary for FaZe. They still push it all the way. FaZe very well could have won that last round, Lax. But at the end of the day, CAG have done a phenomenal job in their opening 2 days.
Yeah, and not just CAG. I mean, Sheer Nico was absolutely going nucleosis throughout this entire game. I mean, that's the performance that I want to see from any single one of these players throughout this series. But in terms of, what I was talking about, are they going to be able to set the tone? Are they going to be able to adapt? Are they going to be able to match whatever FaZe is trying to bring? They were doing just that. They were stopping, especially a player like Cyber that usually finds openings, can flank, can throw you off, interrupt comms. They just were not allowing that and really shutting down Cyber. And Cyber has been a big factor throughout FaZe's history of just being able to be able to make something happen. And again, CAG was just doing such a good job at stopping any of that from happening.
Right, we were worried maybe it was going to be a little bit of a fluke, but Cyclops has been playing very confidently, very aggressively. On a map like Border, we saw FaZe the whole game try to match their aggression, and it just wasn't going in their favor. And it just goes to show that that first win against Furia has built in that confidence for Cyclops. They're playing with no fear, they're playing aggressive, but they're also playing smart. A lot of these post-plant positions where they're forcing FaZe to get out of their comfort zone, go chasing for them. I do want to say that the FaZe trade game was very lackluster. There was a lot of situation where they were just leaving players in CC, leaving players in Dome to go for these 1v1s, but Cyclops is winning them more often than not.
Wow, yeah, at the top of the scoreboard, both on either side, to be fair. I mean, KDS had a very solid performance, a really, really firm 4K, and I think maybe it was like the 9th round to keep him in it. Looked competitive, looked good throughout. But ultimately, with CAG backing this win in, I don't know, is it changing the conversation for you at all, Lax? And I'm not just talking about this match in particular. I'm talking about CAG as a whole.
Yeah, as a whole, yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're gonna take maps off of the current world champions, then you're gonna take a map off the runner-ups from FaZe, and now you're gonna go to a last map where both teams are comfortable on. It does leave a question that CAG is making these improvements, but what's the biggest thing for me is, can they continue this? What we saw with Shopify and that matchup, it did come down to exhaustion. So what I want to see in this game is the exact same thing that we saw here, now going into this last map, and not them giving up or being too tired and running out of steam.
Absolutely. I mean, getting the win on the second map they don't let the first map affect them. Obviously, the next map is a little bit bigger, so it's not going to be the same situation that was able to get Cyclops the win on this one, but I do think it's a great start, and obviously, regardless of the outcome, if you're CAG, you have to be happy with the performance that you're putting on, because I really do think it's the first event, seeing them come in with this confidence, leading them up with that first game against Furia, now going toe-to-toe with FaZe. Obviously, this group is just extremely unpredictable.
Now, outside of the server as well, there's probably two pieces of context that I think is kind of cool. Yesterday, they played super late at night. I don't think they finished till 11:30. This series is going to kick off again. This best of 3. The final map is not going to finish until probably midnight again. And I will say, I saw them at breakfast at 6 a.m. So these guys, they have been up the whole day. They are really digging deep, and they're going to have to do so because we're heading to Bank after this.
Ouais, choc-les. Ouais, choc-les. Ouais, choc-les, choc-les, choc-les. Ouais, voilà ce qu'ils me disent. Je les entends parler et ils m'étrisent. J'arrête que pour rappeler la mise. Petit pas sur la piste. Et le succès, je l'ai pisté. Disent que la place du premier. Je fais monter la côté. Sur moi, tu mises gros. Tu connais déjà l'équipe. Ça criera au complot. Je prends le double, on est quitté. Je fais la magie des chiffres. La somme, je la triple. La concurrence, la dribble. Et le stade est en délire. Ça fait choquer. J'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule, elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché. Gauche, droite, esquive rageux. Coach m'a rajouté du temps de jeu. Dans l'action, ouais, je me sens en feu. Je suis on fire. Je fais la différence au compteur. Money time, ça shoot sur le buzzer. Je suis on fire. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule, elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule, elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché.
It's time to get underway with Bank, the final map, not just of the night, but more importantly of this series that has delivered from start till finish. FaZe have looked good, but CAG are not letting this go without a fight, Lax.
I'll say this. I am on the CAG train now going into Bank. This is a map that both teams are extremely comfortable on. Yeah, of course. After seeing the performance on Border, absolutely. But something that I really want to see that they did do well on their attacks on Border, they were doing a great job at singling out players on FaZe. Whether they were forcing them out of position or just catching them off the rotate, whatever distraction they were causing on the opposite side of the map, Bank is 100% a map that you can take advantage of that. But because it's so big, you really have to be communicating and coordinating of forcing those players out of position, of forcing them into unwinnable situations, and they can absolutely take advantage of it.
Well, I love situations like this where we can go against each other and counter, because I'm on the FaZe train. I believe on a map like Bank, FaZe plays such a unique style of Siege where they can get aggressive. We saw it on Border. They match the aggression. Were they winning it? No. But the issue with Bank is that you can flip-flop how you want to play it.
You can.
FaZe brings that utility style of Siege that we saw on Lair onto Bank. What is Cyclops going to do to respond? Are they going to be able to get through the utility by shooting their way out of it? I don't believe so. So if we can see a different look at Cyclops being able to problem solve on Bank, then that makes me confident watching Cyclops go out through the rest of the tournament into the next stage, hopefully if they make it. But if we can't see that at a Cyclops and they just fall back, still, you can be happy with that performance, but obviously it just doesn't mean that they're going to be as strong as we expected them to be.
And Bank is going to be a map where it's going to be similar to Layers. You are going to have to problem solve. You can't just run straight through the wall time and time again. You are going to have to see what's in front of you and see where you can create an opening and then go from there and take the round.
A little bit of, I guess, a doesn't have trouble in paradise. It's the Wish.com version of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
We've had that one before, Rob. I mean, like, come on.
I thought that was good, but
It's been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. I think Miami.
Listen, sometimes my best material, I am happy to loan it out and write it out. I appreciate that he's trying, and he has many more attempts to try and take us apart. But we have one more game, one more moment here, one more map.
And an opportunity for CAG to do something very incredible and find another series win against a top-tier Brazilian team.
You know when
2 days in a row.
Yeah, you know when I said it at the start.
What the CAG is going on?
Look at that social prediction. 46%.
People are believing.
People, they're starting to believe.
Starting to believe.
Starting to believe. I mean, who wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, right? Historically, if you are looking at CAG as a long-time CAG fan, their wins aren't always the ones where you go, that was a lockdown and a shutdown. There's huge potential on these players. There always has been, even amongst previous iterations. But some of the plays, some of the games, some of the rounds that they would make were sort of edge of your seat. How are they doing this? They are demonstrating super well how they are doing this time. This event has been brilliant from their structure side of things, which hasn't, as I said before, historically always been their strong suit. I love that we're getting that deeper intrinsic strategic take from them.
You want some numbers?
Love them.
Because I'm like obviously the best color in the world.
I mean, I think we both are at this point.
The most banned map from CAG is Bank. It is their hard ban, in theory. I wouldn't necessarily call it a hard ban because they've actually got a decent result on it, 4-1, but it is their most banned 4 map. On the flip side for FaZe, and this is where I was actually raising my eyebrow a little bit when Fox was talking about their aggression on this particular map and why he's on that train. Statistically, it's their second worst map for attacking win rate. So I don't know where he's getting his information. It's also a map in which FaZe don't like to play. It's their third most banned map. So again, the theory from CAG coming into this series was, we know we're not going to get our best maps. By we, I'm saying CAG. So we're going to try and get FaZe's worst maps. And they've done that successfully. They got Border, which is, again, a map that FaZe don't play. And now they've also got this Bank as well, which is their third most banned map. A 2-1 record for FaZe over the last couple of months. The one good news, though, for FaZe is they're very good on Bank defensively. It's their second best map when it comes to defensive win rate. And they also begin on the defense. CAG do not have a good defensive win rate. In fact, it is abhorrent. It is the worst map for defensive win rate when it comes to CAG. If they're going to win this map, it needs to be in this half.
Wow. Let's see if they can lock it down. Now,
there's a 21% gap between them on defense.
Okay, that's a pretty big... You gave me numbers.
I gave you numbers.
That's a big number. I mean, yesterday, obviously, we saw it as the third map in the showdown, FaZe Clan versus Shopify, and Shopify Rebellion were able to get themselves up 5-2, and then from that point, FaZe just locked it out. A very similar story to actually how this series opened up, was 5-2 up for CAG, and then FaZe locked it out. But at the same time, you know, that was all on the side, as you said, of defense. It would have been the deciding map in CAG's game against Furia as well, but obviously they didn't need it. So now we get the taste of their gunplay here instead. We have fallen to our last fight, our last map, and a best of one as CAG prefers it. Later on, let's see if they can try and lock it out. Quick motion in on towards stock here as they're trying to wrest some control. You're looking at a bit of a curious lineup, but the spray through against Shurip almost removes before they can even begin to get themselves prepped up.
That would have been an amazing start for FaZe to get rid of the Sens. No RAUs, no light screens to have to deal with later in the round. Clearly, CAG cooking something up with this lineup. It's not a very conventional looking lineup when it does come to lockers and CCTV. What's the plan with the Blitz and the Sens? What's that combination looking like? Are they trying to hit a particular location in the middle portion of the round, clearing out, say, an open area? Well, Shirineko does get rid of KDS, gets rid of that Vigil. There is one more still over towards Admin, that side. But Zera, the flash is perfect. He's blinded by the light. He still gets the kill anyway.
No way. He saw everything that we saw, but he's able to see right through it, and they didn't pick up the next fight. There's the cross from Chibisu. But still, that should have been the Blitz take there. Not entirely sure what happened. But I mean, I don't think Anderson is either. Sometimes the spray just connects in that way. Handy. He's holding himself on garage stairs, hoping they get a little bit too, you know, eager on towards the hatch itself, but it's not the side that's going to be peaked as the hatches start to get popped open and the pressure on towards, well, anywhere. They give themselves options. You can see they've moved their way over towards Vault as well. They're potentially going to see if, you know, the elevator hatch is open there too. There's the mirror window to make the breach awkward here. A decent bit of play, but it also gives them the chance to try and maybe throw some utility and just slow and stop things. Now, the light wall gadgets, you can obviously turn them on and off and get the activations back and forth, but a C4 will be flying into that position and the explosives will be able to remove pretty much anyone or anything that is otherwise in that place. That's what they want to do with it. Bait out that utility. It's the trade and the cost, and the smoke canister is the bait, but look at the time in the top center, Xenox.
Yeah, I mean, 2 more gas waves as well for Souls. You've still got to knife yourself for Bitter-King. Yes, you're down to play for FaZe, but you're in a really good position to still deny this plant from going down. Here comes Sharif, who is very low on health. It won't take too much to dissuade him from getting away. He cannot even get away. That's Kid on the ground. The trigger discipline is perfect right now. FaZe are just holding on for dear life. Blackray and Chibisu deep in a red time. 3 seconds left. Got him on the kills. And the Bailey. And he gets the double, though, to salvage it. What a crazy ending to kickstart Bank here in the opening round. Handy comes up clutch. Heart in mouth stuff. And FaZe will get the opening round just barely.
I know. I mean, margins, fractions, slight little tweaks, and it's a CAG round, but slight little tweaks, and it's a more convincing FaZe round. They both knew where they needed to be, where they needed to go. They were fighting bitterly for each position. That take onto KDS, a little bit wild. Imagine if this had gone the way it should have.
But I don't know how he gets that kill.
Practice, knowing where to aim at head height, and Anaton, we know, has a habit of just dropping for the gun and going for the kill. I get it, but at that point when you're surrounding the player, why not just hit him with the shield, use the bash, knock him down, and then go for that situation? Because he's blind. He won't have any idea how to get the angle on the kill for the head at that point. But that's not us. The decisions they end up costing. And, well, the first round is FaZe's, and, you know, this is the side where they need to try and get as many locked in as possible. They will build stronger.
They both do. That's the thing. That's the kind of what the tone we set coming into this first half. CAG, not great on defense, so they've got to get attacking rounds. FaZe, not good on attack, so they need defensive rounds. This first half is going to be a big telling factor as to who has really a substantial lead then going into the second half, where then they both flip to sides they're not as comfortable on. So right now, you know, if rounds like that are going to come down to those little moments, essentially, again, another 1v1. We had a lot of those back on border. If you're going to have those kind of rounds, fine margins will be so important. Little things, such as Cyber, getting that kill while full white. Those are the little moments that are going to change the course of these rounds.
Quick break and pressure here. Over the top as they find themselves angled on towards the staff office open area site itself. Rather than going for the top floor, you do get a little bit more give, a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more width, which is something that FaZe love playing around in. And also, if we throw ourselves back towards the layer in the opening, when there is width, CAG struggled to find their A route in, to find their first step, their first bit of focus. It was just a little bit too messy, a little bit too shaky. The spray into elevator, and he almost looks away, and he does! Ooh, he pulled himself back in, but his 3 kills fall into the favor of FaZe. It's a multi-dimensional shutdown here. CAG stuck on the wrong side of what is just a shooting gallery. Shoe-reap. And to be honest, at this point, maybe take an unofficial timeout to slow the pace down. Have a conversation. It seems he's headed to the roof, whether he's just going to try and find a fresh route in or play with some Flores drones.
Well, I mean, this is a very disappointing round for CAG. You can lose rounds such as the first one, essentially down to a 1v1. Absolutely winnable for large portions of it. This one, you never even have a look in. FaZe just so destructive on the defensive side, and probably makes Fox look a little bit smart in terms of the aggression that he was talking about and what they're capable of. They provide it here. They get on the front foot. They don't even allow CAG to get into any kind of position where they can get into set plays, look to clear out positions, get map control. FaZe straight away from the onset, just hit the go button. CAG not in a position to respond, and with that, they take already an impromptu timeout. That's why Sharif's just sitting here. He'll also had the stats a little bit with a kill onto Cyber.
I mean, that's entirely it, right? Obviously, you know, FaZe, they know that this round is theirs. They're gonna maybe try and lean in and end it quicker, because the quicker they can, it stops the conversation. There it is. But at that point, it was long since decided that that was a FaZe round. And it's late in the day. But 2 in a row here for FaZe on their opening here. And, you know, if the first was so touch and go, the second was, I mean, inning.
Well, it was over before it even really began. I mean, we didn't even essentially get a proper round here. But look at the clock, minute 48, it's 5v3. You know, and the follow-ups are pretty swift after that as well, 10, 15 seconds later. So within the span of 30 seconds, not even, I think it was closer to 20 seconds, the round was done. You know, from a minute 50 to about a minute 30, FaZe just able to go and find 4 kills that quickly, that easily is quite concerning if you are CAG. But it is also only one round. If you're going to have an off round, make it one. Make it one and done. Move into this third round. You need to pick up these attacking rounds in this half. It is essential. Cannot be understated. If CAG do not find attacking rounds in this half, it is going to be incredibly unlikely for them to find success then going into that second half. They just do not have the numbers behind them to suggest that they're going to be capable.
Up to the office as we get ourselves locked in. And, you know, it's a site that is a little bit wobbly, a little bit risky for teams. You'll have internal takes that build themselves over the side of stock, go for the control of the top square. what we saw previously, and yes, it wasn't the site that they needed to break into, but it was a big attempt on the windows here that was just entirely shut down against those castles and against some great bits of motion from the FaZe defenders. They're probably not going to be too laser focused on having bodies on those windows take. They realized the game wasn't anything that they could shut down. Kali is on the board. She's going to play from Narnia.
I do want to add the caveat as well when you kind of look at Bank so far at SI, again through, well, I guess 2 full days now. Small sample, but it has been defender decided quite largely, around that 66 to 68% win rate for the defense. But again, for CAG, their defensive win rate on this map over the last 6 months is 50%.
Yeah.
Really bad versus FaZe, which is in the mid-70s.
And obviously that will include, you know, regional stats more as well.
It's probably not a good thing.
No, it's generally not. But there's Shuri.
That's good. That's better. That's what they need. Find an early pick. You know, that makes it a little bit more difficult for FaZe to have numbers everywhere around the map. That's going to give more spacing for CAG on the attack.
Love the play there of the fire canister, but they didn't quite get the destruction on the wall. The playback against the Souls, yeah. The fire on it, they've used twice as much utility as they would have liked there. I'm not sure what the missing link was when you have the Kali and when you have, you know, obviously the Hibana pellets. The problem is you've got to send everything in motion. And I think the Kali just wasn't quite placed in the position they thought they could get rid. But either way, it's done with 1:20. Can they now see if they can formulate it? The windows weren't too successful of them before. It's the Deimos of Chibisu that I'm curious about. Maybe the pressure that'll come here over top square or underneath in towards Archives. Remember, all this floor is soft. If they can force the players into uncomfortable situations, especially that Azami that is hot-footing it out of there, the fight against the pistol, remember, it goes both ways, but Black Ray,
Good teamwork.
brilliant teamwork. And now 50 seconds. Can they start trying to capitulate this into a plant?
Souls around front desk, just on the exterior of it. Black Ray close by on the rappel. A very split defense now for FaZe. You know, KDS top main, Vidiking over towards Janitor, Souls from front desk, and you know, at the end of the day, it just means they're not going to be able to trade each other. KDS does slip back in towards long desk. 30 seconds left, so still bodies close to site for FaZe at the very least, but CAG just have the numbers. They've got players on the rappel. They continue to maintain this advantage with that kill from Shuri Neko. And the vendetta is strong from Chibisu. Gets the kill onto Vidiking, all but leaving KDS by himself with 12 seconds left. Where is the kit though? It's actually stuck a little bit. That's a big kill from KDS, but the vendetta again strong from Chibisu. CAG on the board here on Bank. There was though a very brief moment where I panic. I look up, I see the kit not even remotely close to any member of CAG. 8-9 seconds left. KDS is very, very good. He could have won that round. That just got a little bit hairy, but they get the round with, and they breathe a sigh of relief.
I mean, it obviously much better there from CAG, but it was the tertiary site. It was the third, and as you said, the fight is going to be on this opening half. They've got to try and start putting these pressures down. If the first lockers had gone their way, it's a very different setup of round count. It's a very different setup around preference, and, you know, but the opener, the creep up from Garage up towards green just to catch the unexpected player, and that was from the force of the back of the Deimos. Sure, an echo.
5-on-2, and it's still
Close.
5-on-2 to a 4-on-1, and even at that point, you're just thinking, it's a 2v1, 8 seconds, and no one has kit. Luckily, Chibisu has the vendetta. Shouldn't have been really all that close towards the end, but credit to FaZe for being able to put up a fight right down to the end. As we go right back down to basement, lockers and CCTV now for the 4th round, where it was an absolute shootout last time to begin here on Bank in the opening round. Of course, won by FaZe, came down to essentially a 1v1. CAG on the board though. Just keeps that scoreboard looking a lot nicer rather than a 0-3 and an incredible start for FaZe. For CAG to get an attacking round on the board, so pivotal. 2 to 3 attacking rounds, and I think that it sets them up very nicely going into the second half, so they don't have to do too much more.
Well, is Shuri going to see if they can lead themselves in to a direct fight on the side of server? There is obviously some presence around here. It turned into a later fight in this situation, but when you're trying to dismount, I think it's Vidiking and Souls that are not too far away from this. A smoke and a mirror played by Vidiking as well. It's not an easy engagement to take on the same sort of split. Here we're looking at a slow and steady clear. of the far side. Black Ray's taking little scraps of damage. Is gone for the entry, but nothing is connected as of yet. They've got some of the control here on the top floor, and they're just waiting. There goes Shuri. Souls able to remove the player who entirely by himself tried to take an opportunity. Just did not pan out.
I mean, that's just not really like a team-connected play. It's a bit of a solo play, which it's great if it works. If you get that kill onto the smoke, boy, golly gosh, is that a really big kill? Opens up server and you get rid of the smoke and everything's great. Instead, though, loses the 1v1 and suddenly now puts CAG on the back foot pretty early into this round as well. Still over 1 minute and 20 remaining, but you're down a player. Souls doesn't have to worry as much in terms of pressure. Still has 3 gas babes. And only just now are you really getting to work on the utility on site with these shock drones. This is going to be, again, very difficult for CAG. Has spotted that play over towards the loading dock. You can see Chibisu calling that out. Spotted the gun barrel.
Yeah, they've got the bulletproof watching for the cover of the player as well. There's the removal of the bulletproofs. It's all eyes and intel, and there's still that utility game they've got to juggle with. 2 C4s in the pocket, 3 smoke canisters, more than enough to cover this entire site. So at this point, CAG, they're going to have to go for something else, and it seems like they're going for the lobby drop. There's a bit of a trade back and forth straight into a Fenrir mine, and the coverage of the smoke. He's worried about the swing through, but the C4 actually removes the problem for him, and he can kind of keep himself locked. But look, on the opposite end, the push is coming from Chibisu. He's able to find himself round. KDS does get the cut onto one, but he's inside the vault and saved by a well-made computer and the coverage of Souls here. And at this point, they just didn't have the time. Had 1 body less. They couldn't quite get anything other than a confirmation. FaZe, much more controlled hold there of the basement.
Yeah, I mean, that was really clinical and clean. It starts off with Souls winning the 1v1 against Sharif, and from there, you've got that extra players, you've got extra bodies. CAG can't find a way to then have, you know, more than what ended up being just a one-dimensional attack where everything is very focused on one area of the map. You know, vice versa, had Sharif won that initial 1v1, not only have you dealt with the smoke, but then you've got the avenue where that defense can't quite cover all of the areas as much, and so you can have extra areas of attack coming into what is a very congested basement on Bank. Timeout has been called from CAG, and rightfully so. Going into the 5th round, 2 opportunities to close out the half where they really do need to find at least another attacking round. I'll probably say as the minimum. Yep. Otherwise, if it's a 5-1 lead for FaZe going into the second half, that becomes a treacherous journey for CAG on a side where they do not defend all that well on.
Oh, I'm not going to say it becomes too easy for FaZe. There's still always going to be the chance to fight. But where we see FaZe play best is A, when they've been able to wrest control of momentum, and B, when they're able to sort of operate themselves on a map like this, play on the attack and get themselves sort of structured around it. Here, just, I'm not sure if it feels like CAG are running a bit out of steam. As I said, there's some similarities to how their attacks felt at the opening of this series on Lair, where they just weren't quite in the positions. They've technically done one better in that on Lair they couldn't win a single one of their attacks, and here they've got one, but at the same time, when the feeling is the same, it's not that great, not that sort of aspirational as to the chance of growth here. But hey, last time we had this sort of situation, 3-1 on the previous map, FaZe took their timeout. They're able to at least claim the one immediately after and get themselves onto, well, the wrong side of a 2-4. There's always that hope, always that chance, but maybe FaZe are going to look at this as an opportunity to start getting a little bit more excitable around the map itself. Similar lineups, similar loadouts, and similar operators, except the Nook here from Chibisu has that potential chance at a difference in conversation. Lovely plants.
Very green, very luscious.
Whoever works at this bank,
oh, they water them every day.
They water those plants. I'm curious if they're going to throw themselves in on these windows, because last time it was tragic. And remember where the site is and how many, I think it's 3 people were lost, putting pressure on towards the windows themselves. They've only got the single player making that presence right now, though Black Ray is getting closer and closer. Chibisu as the sort of potential sneaky nook aspect of this is eyeing Spiral. The destruction's coming through. There's still the hard wall, but at this point, there's Chibisu off towards Archives, maybe trying to play some pressure underneath.
Well, Cyber is down there at the moment. They may end up walking into each other, or at the very least, Chibisu walking into CyberZero towards Archives. Opening kill, Sharif will lose his life. Chibisu just continues to make his way forward. Is CyberZero ready for the Nook? Does seem like he's got an inkling, but yeah, hops onto the cams on the drone at the moment that has been captured. Now makes the run around and should be dead. Yep. Easy headshot kill for Chibisu. Cyber indeed didn't really have an idea that the Nook had made his way in. Ooh. Makes it a 4 versus 4. But Chibisu just barely keeping his life intact.
It's almost immediate revenge here, but it buys them a chance to talk, and it buys Chibisu a chance to hold an angle and watch and wait, but he doesn't want to get caught from somebody that's aware of his presence. So, as the motion comes inside, quick cover onto the pocket, but oh, how did you win that, Shirin Echo? Let's be honest, you shouldn't have, but you got it. Now you got 50 seconds to see if you can try and pull this one round, but both you and Chibisu are a breath away from death. The juggling of utility as they find themselves drifting in and out of the blind spot.
I mean, that is something that they haven't cleared. 2 options: he can take the fight then drop, or he can just commit. I think it's more likely he'll make contact and then drop 30 seconds. He doesn't need to hold his position until he's deaf, because they're already down a player. He can't afford to lose his life, but there is one coming through. Terrace, he catches him out. Blackray, I thought he was going to be in a good opportunity to take out Vidaking. They know they need to clear him. He must go down. He gets another one, and a third now from Vidaking. Holds his nerve in stock, gets rid of 3, wins the round single-handedly for FaZe. A clutch moment from Vidaking.
Huge performance from the player, and I'll be honest, I didn't like the first engagement because they knew he was there or they had the inkling, so you send the man with the diffuser round to try and stop it. It's a decision to be made, and yeah, you're concerned about him looping his way back in, but then they send the following fights one after the other with 20 seconds left. Okay, you know, it's Vidaking. Huge player, we've sung his praises so much, deservedly so, but that was just simple for him to close that off. With his skill and his caliber, he makes it look even easier, but again,
It's at that little micro level for CAG where it's just a simple, guys, if there's one in stock, whether they had the intel or not, we need to make sure if we're going to send one terrorist and we're going to have one in the hallway, they swing together.
Yep.
Because then what, Vidaking can't shoot 2 people at the same time, and not from that kind of angle of difference, but because the first run for Blackray outside of the terrorist, he makes contact to begin with. Vidaking can take the 1v1, then he takes another 1v1, and then of course then the last player provides yet another 1v1. At no scenario where you got 3 players heading over towards stock, this was a 4-on-3. So you can actually afford to lose 1 to get the kill.
Oh, 100%. So
then it's a 3-on-2, and you're laughing. At that point, you're probably going to go on and win the round, but they've absolutely bottled it. 4-1 lead for FaZe, and CAG will be kicking themselves that they were unable to clear out Vidaking, who, well, to his credit, had a very good last stand.
As I said before, we've sung his praises a lot, but he is just a fantastic player. He, you know, gets himself into those sort of, to be honest, it's maybe one of his preferred positions, is like, yeah, this is where I stand. This is my post. I will not leave my post. Try and make me leave my post.
He's been struggling a little bit in this series too. So, I mean, that's a big round for him. He's been the lowest rated EPS player for the side of FaZe throughout the 3 maps that we've had so far. And of course, now he's picking up those numbers, 6 and 2. So he was a bit quiet on the first 2 maps. But that firepower is, well, evidently there on all 5 players of FaZe. I mean, they're all going to be able to perform at any given time. Addison up in flames. That's self-inflicted.
Yeah, I sort of, you know, I said they didn't quite get it right last time. Seems like they haven't quite got it right this time either. And you have the Kali as well. And, you know, you're playing against the Bandit. The batteries are going to be tucked on the wall. They've opted to, instead of juggling against it, pull themselves away, and instead of using the grenade to get rid of the utility either as well, they're gonna just try and...
Did that just like roll it? Did he just mess both of them up?
It's stairs. Things go down on them.
He's just completely wasted 2 frag grenades.
It almost feels like things are falling a bit apart here.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree. I agree. That last round feels like the catalyst, whereas that was that big push from them to try and win that, get that second round, and then the way that it just falls apart, then you kind of have that self-realization where it's like, damn, was that our opportunity? Was that our chance? Then you take that energy into this round, make a couple of mistakes with the asphyxiating bolt, then with the frag grenades. Even though it's still a 5 versus 5, it's still a very winnable round. As you kind of mentioned, you just get that sense that maybe CAG are letting things slip away.
Now they're utilizing Kali against the mirror windows and against the pressure here from the side of the windows, but remember what we've seen opened and what isn't. They're still gonna have to climb up through barbed wires on towards Spiral, no surprise. They're having to fully stack on these windows and just send themselves in potentially, which we saw how that went last time round, not good. At this point, FaZe, they've not really been tested and contested. They've got themselves for the pressure onto Long Desk, and it's the fight onto one. The second pops around the corner, but Anaton and Shiraneko again have some of the cover, but as they try to start the plant, they've just thrown themselves in. It's just Cyber left, somehow, with nothing in their favor. And I want to sort of repeat it. All we saw throughout that entirety was a struggle. A struggle, a struggle. They're in the site, they've been able to pull some kills. They're going for the plant, they've won the round.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even really the side, it's the push through from top square from the Deimos to just put pressure on the player in Janitor. He goes to try and clear out Janitor, spots one in Long Desk, bam, okay, we'll take that fight. But then the Deimos targeted player inside of Janitor is like, oh, okay, well, you're taking a fight with someone else, I'll try and catch you off guard and go for the swing. And that draw out where you try to be aggressive then means the player in stock gets a free kill because you've pushed out a Janitor into the doorway, then you kill the Long Desk player, and suddenly you've cleared out that backline, you got the numbers advantage. So that little micro play, I think it was Chibisu who was on the Deimos there in that round. So I think that is what set the spark in that round for CAG to get what was an absolutely required second attacking round. They go on defense now. Again, I mentioned 52% defensive win rate for CAG on this map, but so far at the tournament itself, Bank has been defend-decided. So maybe it could be that turning of the tide for them. This could be where they can actually find improvement on defense, but credit to them, because it wasn't looking great to begin that round. They had so many errors, so many little mistakes, but when it came down to the crunch time, the last 50 seconds in the round, they just locked in and they were able to deliver.
All right, they get their second. We talked about the possibility, the importance of it, but we talked about that after they sort of failed the importance of what was going to be the most important half. And now, as I stop saying that word, we go to the other one, the one where statistically both these teams are weaker. Whoever can get themselves a better handle on it is going to have the result. They might want to bring themselves in. So I brought the comparisons of FaZe playing this map before. They were able to win 2 of their attacks against Shopify Rebellion when they played it out yesterday. And, well, now that's all they need to try and get themselves at least into OT. The pressures are going to come around here. Instantly on towards Chibisu, who's just being sort of executed. He's not entirely overstayed his welcome in that he's survived, but it was close. The blinds come through. The pressure is still continual here, pushing themselves all the way across the top. They've got open control, and now Souls wants even more.
Yeah, the open control is fine for them to give up at this point because you've got the gas babes, you've got the Vulcan canisters, the yokai drone as well. So all that late round denial is simply there to, of course, stop the plant. A little sneaky play here from Souls over towards bot main. Don't think he's going to push more forward than this. It's always that kind of, I'm just going to see if someone's rotating around in basement, see if I can catch someone.
Well, you want to punish their aggression.
Oh, there's a punishment. And that's actually a big kill. You've lost the echo now. So yokai drones are irrelevant.
I mean, Anaton, you know, he's been pretty consistently playing on the echo itself.
You'd rather lose Chibisu, even probably Shiraneko at this point. You'd want that echo up. Big kill back from Black Ray, though. You'll happily take that. Gets rid of Handy. Minute left, 4v4. You still got 3 gas babes in the back pocket. There does go the Azami, though. And the lead has been regained for FaZe.
It was a bit of a strange position. The Azami wanted to hang themselves around in because, you know, they knew the hatch control and open had fallen away from them. They knew that they couldn't really rotate back, and instead of getting themselves maybe off towards servers or trying to opt for something else, instead they played it against it. The smoke canisters and the Goyo is cooking, so Shuri Pier with the long range and the long barrel is going to try and put some slugs into a player that wants to dip their way in, but the player is crouching and hiding, pinged on potentially a camera or a bulletproof there, but Chibisu gets the swing onto one. They break their their way in towards the site itself. The Ying takes a scrape. Shurip gets Viking as well, but it's Souls on the stair that's about to try and find all the attention here onto Shurip. KDS gets the kill instead. There's the spray against the down player. He just needs to hide. Needs to stay low, but he steps in and makes no moment happen there. It couldn't have been closer though. Oh, you see the blood.
Oh, man, that was a tough decision. 1v1 again, though, Emmy. How many times have we seen that in this particular series, let alone on this map? A huge opportunity for CAG to claim that round. They were down a player. Things weren't looking great. Big stop on the defuse from going down, and it becomes that 1v1 with little time left. And yeah, credit again to FaZe. They just always seem to have the answer on this map, at least. 5-2 lead. CAG have been incredibly competitive for a scoreline that is a 3-round differential. Yeah, I mean, that's poor from Additon. Gets caught on the drone. Handy went aggressive, goes for the vault drop. Caught unexpecting their CAG. And it's at this moment here, though, they brought it back to a 3-on-2. Big kill from KDS. Bam, here comes, though. Souls pistol out, knows that Black Ray is low. He went prone as well. Always a bit of a cardinal sin. And there was still about 10 seconds left, right? It's not like there was 2 seconds.
No. But you wonder how low the health was there.
Yeah.
On, the push round the side. Again, you see it going out. It might have been the difference of a bullet with an SMG at that range isn't a million miles away. Something about locker rounds in the opener seems to be very scrappy, but not to, you don't always sort of, want to highlight negative players and stuff like that. But as you said, with Anaton's death there, it really feels like he's been a bit lost on this map. And he opened the series very, very strong, which you want from your veteran players. You need that in these big showdown matches. The experience, as I said, him and Black Ray have SI experience before. The other 3 are fresh here. And at that point, that is that sort of cool, calm, and collected. And, when those players can't quite get into the big moments, it could be the difference factor when the rounds have been this narrow. Instant pressure here coming through from Cyber. The Zami suffers quite heavily. There is a bit of support that's going to come around on the door, and they do get the end of it. Shurip gets the kill, the drop, the E1D. They might even just try and get out of there. It doesn't really matter if you get revealed, if you can get safe. Souls has found himself against the wall, but with stock control in their favor, it's a play, but it's come at the cost of your buck.
Yeah, but the stock control's good. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. I don't think you want to be down a player, lose the buck. The buck is good in stock as well, so it goes hand in hand, but they do at least still have control of it. And Valcam over towards top square, giving over some really good information for CAG on the push coming from FaZe. One more E1D available for KDS. Of course, top 4 has been given up by CAG, but Shurip wanted to re-aggress up main.
No need for it, really. At this point, you've got the man advantage. They've still got to get the hard work done on the long wall, or they've got to try and fight their way on Beeper. It's very narrow, and there's options to drop and go for wider rotates. Now they have the man advantage. Anaton, again, taken out of the picture here, and as sprays come back and forth, there is a good and important step back in there, Chibisu, but he instantly pulls himself back in towards the site. The keeper barricades to buy themselves some safety, and Shiraneko, he's trying to find the spray and get a little bit lucky on players placing more and more of a breach and filling the gap that the Buck's corpse left in this approach. 40 seconds, 3 versus 3 FaZe. They have some time here, but the limitations now, what are they going to do with Souls in the pocket hard breach? Where are they getting these Selmas popping off? It's internal, and Shiraneko takes care of Viking, but Souls keeps the pressure up on towards Beepers. 20 seconds, 2 versus 2. Traded moments, Black Ray and Handy. One apiece in another 1 versus 1, but Black Ray is the one that pulls it together here for CAG. Keeps them off of series point and drifting towards it, but it's the first of a climb, 5-3.
Well, I don't understand Japanese, but obviously it sounds like their communication's pretty calm, which is good, especially in what is a pretty tense matchup at the moment, especially even more so when it's against FaZe.
Yeah.
3-5, big 1v1. it's felt like all the 1v1s have gone the way of FaZe up until that moment. So it's a really big effort from BlackRay to close things out. Yeah, Sharif at that point probably doesn't need to push up main stairs. And things were looking a little bit hairy until that moment. That moment there, when ShiranEcho got that kill, I'm thinking this is on. 1v1, 18 seconds, Handy's lower than BlackRay. BlackRay holds his nerve. He found 2 kills at the end, and that's exactly what CAG needed just to keep that scoreboard close. 2-round differential.
I mean, hold nerve is that important part. I know I sort of said it at the start of the round as the conversation. In these big games, in these big moments, in the biggest tournament, the players you want to keep their cool head are the historied players, right? Are the older guns, the ones that have been here before, the ones that have sort of set yourself up. That is BlackRay in that situation, in that position as well. He's able to just move himself into the space. The team, they stay calm and collected because of it, and they get themselves set in. Anaton, sick of dying, is going to see if he can be helped by having the clash on board. And to be honest, with how sort of dicey this site, A, was before, last time we were here on a defense, but B, was also in the opening half points.
So they give up the castle, and they give up the Echo. Obviously, this time now, Anaton on the clash, so he'll be a little bit more, you know, present.
And alive, hopefully.
And alive, hopefully, as well. And they bring the Warden, too, instead of the castle. So a lot of the focus here is just going to be on this basement site. CAG will keep it pretty much slightly contested on the first floor. You know, we're talking like elevator drop after the first bit of contact. Chibisu will maybe contest blue stairs every now and then, but I don't imagine he'll hold it for very long. So rather than that kind of open area hold, and Vidiking gets rid of Sharif. Well, everything I was saying they probably should have done. Sharif probably just wants small contact and fall back. He doesn't even get the opportunity to fall back. Now you're down a player, and this is where you've got to keep that patience. You don't have to swing, say, a blue stairs to bot square. You don't have to peek this. You should never really peek this. But Chibisu's lost a teammate, so he may feel like the onus is there to try and get one back.
And that is entirely what those statement shots are from KDS of, I know what you want to do, and it is not going to happen. Chibisu was tempted by it. But they're watching, they're droning, they're well aware, and now with that hatch open, his escape route is not suicide, but close to if he tries to slip his way past it. There's some of the plays, buying himself time. The Goyo canisters being here on blue is a decision to waste it, and are FaZe going to adapt and maybe try and put the pressure down main instead, see if they can pull themselves into a situation, because otherwise you've got to spend a lot of time in utility forcing the player out. Here it is. As I called it, the adaptation, instead of playing that fight that they want, go here, go instead to
elevator drop with the kit.
Exactly. They want to try and get themselves focused on the other side, but ShiranEcho does find Cyber in the meantime in the reveal of the clash there now.
But the clash is involved. I don't know if this is actually the right rotation here from FaZe. They had pretty decent pressure over on the server side. They even had a good drone setup. ShiranEcho gets rid of Handy. KDS2 will fall. This call from FaZe being picked apart defensively by CAG. Down to Vidiking and Sol, still 2 Handy players. And ShiranEcho is very low. Clash for Anaton. That's something you really want now in a 2v2. You want guns up, and 3. A gun is certainly in the hands of ShiranEcho, and he's putting it to great use. Sol's now getting electrified, and ShiranEcho just doesn't need to peek. 10 seconds remaining. Souls can't even get close enough to get the guard break. He's running out of time and doesn't even have the kit. No way in hell he's winning this one. 4-5 as CAG find 2 rounds in a row.
I know you said it. You want to have guns up in this situation.
But the shield was pretty good, wasn't it?
But as you said it, he puts the shield on his back and swings onto the SMG.
In theory, he did have a gun up.
He had his gun. He heard you. No, but I mean, you at one point questioned, okay, is it the right decision to move this way? I think it is. However, the manner it was done was one that CAG were prepared for. Because they had the mobility of the clash, because they had this setup, I think they found out about the clash too little too late. This kill, well watched, well practiced, and ShiranEcho again, what a series he's been able to have here across it, the positions he's getting himself in, stepping themselves up and battling the back and forth. They've been able to pull it within a round divide. There's been so many of these that could go either way on the flip of a coin.
Well, if ShiranEcho doesn't get that particularly last kill it could have been a 2-on-1 push onto the Clash.
Oh, yeah.
And so then that's where it's like, well, that's why you feel like you want to have that gun up. But they did have that gun up over towards Garage. He gets that kill, and then he can actually unpeak and hide, because at that point, the Clash's shield then adds a lot more of an element to it versus, say, in a 2v2. In the 2v1, that's when the Clash shield is amazing. 4-5, 2 rounds in a row for CAG. And they finally win out on Lockers and CCTV for the first time, actually.
Hooray.
Hooray. They've broken through.
FaZe.
And they just keep that pressure on FaZe. It's that scoreboard pressure. It's like, hey, we're hanging around. It's a 4-5. It's not like this is, by any means, a one-sided affair. I think regardless, though, whatever happens from here, I mean, CAG have
Great.
been great.
It's entirely the sort of play of everything, though, is, you know, it's a matured team with great capabilities. We already talked about it. And FaZe, you still fully expect them to step back up. You always talk about them as a team that can always activate. If they have one player up, the round is still possible. There's not many teams around the world that can do that, and that's the pressure that they have to play here against. Cyber on the Blackbeard, just eyeing up the chance at the drop here on the opposite skylight. Not entirely sure if they're trying to remove utility with that grenade. The drone does get caught out for the attention for it. Obviously playing on towards CEO. It's
4 drones,
windows.
3.
Yeah.
And there's a minute 45. You're down to 3 drones remaining. So the drone economy for FaZe for the remainder of this 10th round is substantially low. Make it 2 drones, in fact, Damien.
Well,
They're just watching them get torn apart.
Uh-oh. It's like a horror film. The Brava drones are apparently the longest surviving of any of them.
Which is what you don't want if you're
No,
those are the drones you want to
seems like they're a little bit invisible to CAG at this point. But, hey, the pressure comes, the smoke.
Well, the
they're going to move in. Swung in immediately. And, well, as they try and heavy hit with the DMRs, it's actually some of the success. The Blackbeard on one side, but they're back and forth. The pressure on the window. Cyber gets the lock-in with the support. But 5 versus 2 now as Anaton bites the dust. Shuri, he's caught out on a rotate. It is just Shirin Echo left, and I said they've had a great map. They've got to have the greatest round right now. Fortunately, they can't.
I mean, everything about that round just screams unconventional. I mean, FaZe's drone economy shredded. CAG holding power positions. And FaZe at one point just go, you know what, let's just send it in and go kill them, and it somehow works.
They always have the possibility. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what CAG really expected. It seemed like there was a little bit of confusion as to where they needed to be and when. Obviously, we had the spray on the player that was swinging in at that moment in time. You wasn't fully confirmed at that, and that's your best chance at an engagement. There was the pressure of the DMRs that were fighting its way up spiral here, but Black Grey opting to lean into that fight. Maybe it's a mistake because it gives them that territory, that turf. If he's still sat at the top, then he stops the support coming on towards the player and the pressure onto Banana. And, you know, it's just, I think it felt like they weren't sure what FaZe were doing, but FaZe was so clean of that drive that, look, we are some of the best gunners in the world. Let's prove it. Let's get these DMRs out. Let's take our ones. They had the upside down rappel that was coming through on the skylight, the swing on the windows, the push up the spiral, the pressure onto white. Oh, look, we've killed them all. Great, great play and execute there from FaZe. And, you know, at this point, CAG, 2 rounds separate them from getting themselves into OT. They've obviously secured themselves 1 point, but if they can get into OT and they potentially have the chance to get more than that, they would sit top of their group.
It's very doable. They've already shown, of course, in the previous 2 rounds before the 10th that they can win 2 defensive rounds in a row. And it is the 2 sites that they actually won that they get the opportunity to do it again. Staff and Open, and then, of course, Lockers and CCTV. So still a very decent chance that CAG could send this to overtime. But at the very least for FaZe, there is that comfort blanket now of having that 6th round OT guaranteed from here. 2 opportunities now on match point for FaZe to claim the series victory over what's been a pretty resilient CAG. 7-4, 7-5 at the moment. Could be another 7-4 or 5 on the cards here unless CAG can win the next 2 rounds. Over to Staff and Open area for this 11th round. It feels like Shirin Echo and Black Ray have been the 2. They've been
100%.
the 2 so far for CAG. And look, Sharif ends up losing his life to Handy. He's had a bit of a shocker so far in Bank. So again, even more emphasis on the two names that I mentioned before in Shirineko and Blackgray. They must stand up once again now, especially with a player down for CAG. Katie is just walking down the hallway towards Stock, and Shirineko will indeed stand up quite literally, finds the kill into a 4v4.
And he's gone. He's out of there, and he's picking up the pieces. And, you know, again, you don't want to highlight certain players, but Shiri has been the entry death more than anybody else in this game. Twice in the last 3, 4 times or 5 times in the total map itself. It's really struggled with his positioning and not getting shot whilst in it. The 4 versus 4. Some of the damage done to Shirineko is going to make things really deadly, and he gets close to it.
Minute left, match point. And this is where the nerves need to be tempered for CAG. This is where you're on defense. You know FaZe are pushing. They're coming for you. You've just got to hold nerves of steel here. Keep your key positions under lock. Keep those power positions. You know where FaZe are going to want to attack from. The drop from Stock. You've got main stairs, beepers, all of those kind of areas. Make sure that you've got that covered. You've still got your smoke available as well. 2 gas babes in the back pocket for Chibisu. So you've still got angles of attack. In fact, even a Nitro Style still for Blackgrays. They set up for the final 30 seconds.
Here it is, FaZe. What can you sniff out? And CAG, can you keep yourself alive for one more round? The player underneath as well, playing against the hatch. Could try and loop one up. The pressure is coming from Cyber on the far side, and it gets Shirineko. Vidaking takes the drop. They're looking for the fight. The canisters aren't getting anybody, but Souls sure is. There's the plant and the play. And there's just a drive through the middle, but Souls has the key connection as the kit makes contact with the floor. There's Anaton, but only just for one. FaZe, they lock it out there. They were pushed further than I think even they probably expected by CAG, who pulled the point, pulled the map. But that team, still with eyes on the finals, still with eyes on the hammer, still with eyes on revenge, are able to keep themselves in the win and push themselves to top of the group.
They have eyes, yes, Demi. They have lots of eyes on this roster. Big win for FaZe, of course. No love lost at all for CAG. They haven't lost any fans from this performance. They were very, very competitive. In years gone by, we would have looked at this as a really big positive for the APAC region, and we do still as well. They get some points, of course, because of that map win on the second map. But FaZe, they just get over. A little bit of a scare here for FaZe Clan, but scared no more by CAG as they win it out 2-1.